And then I think we're live. Let me double check
We are.
on all the sources and then post it out to make sure we actually are. Oh, whoa, I am really like pixelated.
Yeah, you are.
Damn, okay, why is it doing that? All right, give me 1 sec to fix that. I don't know why it's doing that. Okay. Is that better?
It keeps going like in and out where it'll be okay for a minute and then it'll just disappear. You'll
I don't know
become
why
a
it's doing
pixel.
that.
Yeah, I've never seen it do that either. Maybe it's your internet, maybe, or something.
It shouldn't be because everything else is working fine. It's wired up. It should just. I wonder if it's my camera itself because I don't think I've used this camera on StreamYard before. All right, let's hope. I'll
You're
keep
good right
this-
now, so.
Okay, let's just hope it stays normal and it stays fine and it stays working. And I'll just post out that we're live and then we're good to go. But how are you, Darren? How are you doing?
I am good. I've been really excited for this stream all week. And I was like, yeah, no, I mean, it's been a while since we did something on your side of the fence.
Yeah,
like,
it's been like a year.
Yeah, like I drag you on mine all the time. But you're a great host. You're good at all that stuff. So I was really excited to do this. Been a little sick, little under the weather, but besides that, really excited to rank some Marvel shows.
Oh yeah, I'm hyped too.
These last couple of days, I don't know if you like, I wasn't feeling the hype yet, really, and maybe because I was still doing my rewatch or whatever. But once those reviews dropped, and everyone's like, "Hey, this is like the greatest thing," my hype really has been through the roof. I cannot believe how good people are praising it.
Yeah. It's I mean, part of me is like, is it actually going to be that good? You know, because I feel like it's such a high bar to meet. Like season 2, I know a lot of people have their issues with season 2. I think season 2 is just as good as the rest of the show. But I mean, to say that Born Again is on par with like season 1 and season 3 of the original show, insane. Because I think season 3 of the original show is one of the best seasons of television of all time. Like, hey, we haven't seen it yet, so maybe it will be that good. But I have a little bit of a hard time believing that it will be just yet. But how are you feeling like about, I don't know, the potential for Defenders characters to start showing up in like season 2 or like the Punisher special, or how are you feeling about all that stuff?
No, like it's an exciting time. And again, like I'm really basically watching these shows through for the first time now. Like I had seen Daredevil, I have technically seen Defenders and 1 season of Jessica Jones. And as I'm going through these, I'm going through Luke Cage for the first time, and even Iron Fist and Punisher. And the more I watch, the more I'm like, man, I was really missing out. I was really missing out on something really special. Like even Iron Fist, like a show that I know most people didn't like too much. I'm like, I still think this is at least on par with the rest of the Disney Plus Marvel shows, if not better than a lot of those shows.
Yeah.
And I think we really slept on what we had at that time, like, because again, that was the time MCU was at its peak. We're getting the Arrowverse stuff and that stuff. And I honestly think this might be the most connected a cinematic universe has ever been that I've seen. Like, I love the main MCU. I love Arrowverse, but like having a character like Claire show up for like every season as like a series regular is crazy stuff.
It is really, it's insane. It really was like Marvel's Arrowverse for a long time, because like when I'm going through these shows and it's like you have all these kind of really, really, really small characters showing up throughout everything, like Turk Barrett showing up at least once in every single show, almost every single season he shows up a couple times. Like you have Brett Mahoney, like the NYPD detective, showing up as a main character, and well, not main character, but a big character in Daredevil, then showing up again in Punisher seasons 1 and 2. You've got like Karen going in and out of these shows. You've got Foggy going in and out. You've got Jerry Hogarth showing in and out. Like it really does feel like it's its own thing. Like even in Iron Fist season 1, there's so many little references. Like Jerry Hogarth shows up to help Danny get his company back. Then we have Joy Meacham mention how she hired Jessica Jones, or a PI, to look into some people. And then we hear that Karen Page is the one who wrote the article on Danny being a criminal and stuff like that. Like, it's just all these little references and hints
Yeah.
that feel more connected than the main MCU and kind of feel a lot like the Arrowverse, and how, you know, 1 week we'd have like the Reverse Flash attack Star Labs, and then the very next day
Yeah.
we'd have that be mentioned on Arrow. It gives that connectivity that you can't get with the main MCU movies because of how long there are between projects. Like, in terms of movies, you can't mention a movie that just came out in the next movie because the production times are so crazy.
Right.
Well, you can do that in TV shows because it's so much easier.
Right.
What do you say? I hope Turk comes back and runs into Matt again. That'd be awesome. I mean, take this with a grain of salt. I have heard rumors that Turk is in Born Again season 2. The actor at one point mentioned that he'd been on set for something that was Marvel related, and I guess Born Again season 2 is only filming now, so he couldn't like have filmed anything for it yet. But I heard that he had like some sort of meeting with Marvel, and that he's rumored to be in Born Again season 2,
Cool.
which will be really cool. I would love to see him back. That's kind of something I'm really hoping that we see with Born Again, is a lot of these like little characters or little sets or whatever that remind us that this is the Netflix universe, like Turk, Brett Mahoney, I don't know, the New York Bulletin, if we get a set that looks really similar to that, a set that looks similar to Matt's old apartment, stuff like that, to just make it feel like this is a continuation, because it's cool getting all the big characters back, but you know, going that little step forward and getting some of this, like rebuilding some sets or something like that, would just go a little step forward to making us feel like we're back in the Netflix era.
Yeah, and I'm really curious because there was an interview clip, I think, from the showrunners that said they want people to be able to watch the show as if it's the first one, right? Like, you know, you can just jump in, which I think is fine, very valid, great way to introduce new people. But like, I was like, how are you going to do that? Where like this does feel like a season 4 of Daredevil. It does feel like a direct continuation. So I'm curious how well they're going to do about like reintroducing Matt and Kingpin and Foggy and Karen and Punisher and Bullseye and all these characters that have so much of a rich history up until this point. It's going to be really interesting to see how they balance that line.
Yeah, for sure. I'm like, sorry, go ahead.
Just to like get back to like the question you had asked me about like characters coming back and who we're going to fit in. I do, for no reason whatsoever, I think we will see Jessica this season. I think
this season.
I think that's the end of the season. I don't know why. I have no facts to back that up. You know, I just think like things that she has said in the past, little
Krysten said a lot of things that are like
like it kind of feels like she's maybe either had meetings or connections. You know, she's known things where it's like, how would you know that if you haven't been at least in conversations? So it's like, I think that's a cliffhanger. I think
that would be an awesome cliffhanger.
It would. Like, I think it'd be cool if like something like Matt's coming back to his apartment and he beat the bad guy, whatever. He's like, end of a good day's work. And then like Krysten just like turns his light on, be like, Matt, I need your help or something. Or like she's bleeding on his couch or something. And be like, oh my gosh, crazy.
That'd be really cool. I'd love to see that. Like, even just like if we get an Alias Investigations reference in Daredevil, even, I'll be losing my mind. I'll be like, that is the coolest thing ever. Like, I want that sort of stuff. I want to hear about how Luke is now part of a Heroes for Hire thing. Like, just mention Heroes for Hire out there, like a little company out there or something like that. Or mention that mention the Rand Corporation or something like that. Just these tiny little hints to remind us that these characters exist, because we haven't heard of them in the main MCU yet, like at all. So hearing even the mentions of them will be so cool.
It's going to be like, I think it's going to be like reference the show. I think every episode we're going to get little references.
I would love that. I know a lot of people are like, I don't want it to be, you know, just fan service or whatever. But when it comes to the Marvel Netflix stuff, we have been waiting for them to be mentioned by the main MCU for going on 10 years. Daredevil season 1 came out almost 10 years exactly ago, and we've been waiting to start getting references to the actual show in the main MCU. Like, we need to get that sort of stuff. I think a mention of Jessica Jones is more likely for this season of Born Again. I think we'll get a mention for sure, but I could absolutely see like I can't remember, something like Jessica will be the cliffhanger for season 2.
Yeah.
So like the cliffhanger is in the final episode of season 1, or like the season 2 cliffhanger. I guess for cliffhanger for season 2 probably means like the season 1 cliffhanger for season 2. So yeah,
Sure.
that makes sense. My cliffhanger would be Foggy's in a coma or goes into witness protection, which happens in the comics. Yeah. I feel like that's probably the likely direction. I for sure think that first scene of the first episode is going to be, not great for Foggy as a character, but I don't think they're going to keep him dead. My problem with that is that Charlie Cox has been like, he's not sure the decision they made is the right thing to do. And like, sure, that could just be PR to make the show sound really good. But I also am like, why is he saying it's not the right decision if they bring him back later on in the season?
Maybe he
What do you
doesn't
think on that?
know.
Maybe he doesn't know. Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. Like
he did. He hasn't
he's
seen
just
the
an
scripts
actor.
yet.
Like maybe he hasn't seen the whole thing yet. It's possible.
That'd be cool.
I honestly, I'm calling it now. I think it might be PR. I think it's a little bit of PR. Only because of the reviews. Because I think if Foggy died in episode 1, people would be more pissed than they are right now. Right? Sure. I don't think they would be. I don't think people would be like, "This is better than the original. This is amazing." Yeah. I think people would be like, "There's some weird things here, guys. I'm not sure." Yeah. So either it doesn't happen episode 1 and 2. Maybe it happens episode 3 or something.
Maybe, yeah.
It's a complete misdirect. I know he has a new love interest in the show. Maybe his new love interest gets shot in something. That would work. That would put him in a spot where
he has like 12 love interests.
Yeah, that's true.
No, I would really like that, and I think you're completely right. That's something I did not think about. That with the reviews, people have been singing nothing but the praises for the show, and I feel like a lot of these people reviewing the show were fans of the original show, and Foggy is a huge part of the original show, big enough part of the original show that I think people are going to be annoyed if he's not, if like there's not a good reason for why he's not in, or why he's killed off or something like that, So yeah, that'd be definitely something. They should reference Colleen being a vigilante. You have not seen Iron Fist season 2 yet, have you?
No.
Okay. I think we could talk about it when we're talking about the season. I'm gonna try and for Luke Cage season 2, Iron Fist season 2, Punisher season 2. I'll try and be a little spoiler free and be kind of vague on what I'm talking about. But Colleen, I think, would be a really, really, really cool character to show up. Yeah. People were speculating that she was going to be introduced into the main MCU before Danny was, just based off of how Iron Fist season 2 goes. But on top of that, the actress for Colleen, whose name I'm blanking on at the moment, was originally supposed to be in Shang-Chi. Yeah. And I mean, in the comics, Shang-Chi is very much connected to Iron Fist and Kunlun and all that sort of stuff. But she was going to be playing a different character in Shang-Chi, and she got very, very, very close to actually getting the role and had to turn it down because of the Matrix 4. So,
oh wow,
I'm very, very, very happy that did not go ahead.
Thank God.
Because now that gives us a potential for Colleen to show up in the MCU in a main way. And since Shang-Chi hasn't really gotten any follow-ups, if she was cast in Shang-Chi 1, when would we ever see her again? It's not like she could just start popping up anywhere. But there's for sure a chance that Colleen could show up somewhere.
Yeah.
Hey guys, it's the Devil Dinosaur. Hey, what's up?
Hey, how's it going? Yeah, I think, again, I haven't seen season 2 yet. I don't know what they do, but she's my favorite character in that show.
Yeah, she's great. She's great.
She's really cool. And I've heard people bitch. Again, I don't know what happens yet, but I've heard people be like, oh, maybe she'll become the new Iron Fist, or she'll be kind of the lead of that. And I think that would work best, but it'd also be really hard to reintroduce that character. I think it'd be harder to reintroduce stuff from Iron Fist more than Daredevil, Luke Cage, Jessica Jones, I think.
But I think the deeper into Daredevil you dig, if we start digging into the Defender stuff or mentioning Jessica Jones, it gets pretty impossible to avoid Iron Fist after a certain point, because if you introduce Jessica Jones, you have to start talking about introducing Luke Cage. You introduce Luke Cage, and then it's really like a stone's throw to Iron Fist and to the Danny Rand stuff and to that whole section, that's why this is so exciting to me that we're talking about this now, because it's so easy to jump from Luke Cage into like Cloak and Dagger, because Cloak and Dagger and Luke Cage have tons of references to each other.
Yeah.
You get Cloak and Dagger, you have to get Runaways. You get Runaways,
Yeah.
you've got the Darkhold connections and Ghost Rider connections to Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Like, once you start getting one corner of
Yeah.
the Marvel TV stuff, you really start to draw all of them in,
Yeah.
which is really exciting.
Cloak and Dagger would be so easy too. Like, I don't even think you have to reference. You could just start again with that cast. You know,
Yeah.
like bring the cast back, give them more of a budget, and just tell new stories with where
Yeah.
we left off. Right? They're so
Yeah, absolutely good.
Yeah.
Luke Cage and Iron Fist struggled until they brought those two characters together in one book. Yeah, that is completely fair. And to be honest, I think the shows sort of struggled as well until they started to connect them a bit. Like, again, not to spoil Iron Fist or Luke Cage season 2 for
Oh, they're
Darren
fine.
here because he hasn't seen either. But there are characters from both shows who cross over.
Yeah.
Both seasons of the shows start to reference each other very heavily, and it almost feels like we would have gotten season 3 of both shows like normal, but both shows would have ended at season 3 anyway.
Mhm.
And that instead of a traditional season 4, I fully believe they would have just done Heroes for Hire and
Mm.
like combined both shows together, because it felt like they were going in that direction. And Luke Cage and Iron Fist were already the most underwatched and not as well reviewed seasons of the Marvel Netflix stuff. So I think it would have made sense for them to do that. Like, if Feige and Marvel hadn't pulled the plug,
Yeah.
they should share a show next time or a special presentation. Yeah,
Yep.
I think what's going to happen is if they ever got another show, it would be Heroes for Hire
Heroes for Hire,
/ Daughters of the Dragon, and it would have starred
Yep.
4 characters: Luke Cage, Danny Rand, Misty Knight, and
Colleen
Wing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, and honestly, I think that's their best course of action going forward. Like, as we like, Daredevil was really easy to bring back. It was very popular. He's a big character in its own. But I think once we start getting into Jessica Jones, Luke Cage, it's hard to like pitch bring those shows back because they have an audience, but not like the normal MCU audience, right? So it's harder to pitch that. So like, I would even say just do Heroes for Hire as your like Defenders 2.0, right? Like, do Luke, do Iron Fist. You could even throw Jessica in there if you wanted to, right? Like, I think you could wave that narrative to make that work if you wanted to do that. Instead of bringing back every individual show, or just Defenders season 2, or like Defenders.
I think Defenders season 2 could happen. Yeah, I could see that, because I mean, the reason they didn't want to make a second season the first time was because they had to shut down the production and all the shows. You don't have to do that anymore. Like,
no,
there are no shows right now.
It works like that anyway, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like... Yeah. If you would bring 1 or 2 MCU characters to show up in Born Again, who would it be? You go first. Who do you think?
I mean, anybody. I mean, Jessica Jones is 100% my number one. And I mean, Spider-Man, I guess, but that's kind of cheating. That doesn't seem fair. Honestly, you know what I'll say? And I'm just saying this because I like, in my head, I want it to happen for no reason. Bring in Bucky. I don't know why.
Bucky would be cool. Wasn't that, you told me that was like an original plan or something, wasn't it?
Yeah. Like that was part of the original thing. And like, in my mind, I got so obsessed with just like what that character combo would look like. I'll just do it.
It's such a wild combo there. Like, that would be really cool to see. I mean, I would just say Daisy Johnson, just based off of the fact that Matt and Daisy grew up in the same orphanage. But if we're talking like main movie MCU characters, Spider-Man, I mean, it's pretty impossible to not say Spider-Man when you've got a Kingpin-focused New York Daredevil show where Kingpin's now the mayor of New York. Like, it makes so much sense to bring Spider-Man in for that. The fact we can't is disappointing. I hope that they're going to do a sort of movie at some point to deal with that.
So cool.
But yeah, why do Marvel hardcore fans that love the Netflix Marvel days call it crap? The Hulu and Netflix Marvel shows are way better than Disney Plus, in my opinion. Agent Shield still holds up. I do agree that the Netflix Marvel shows are better than most of the Disney Plus stuff. Like, rewatching the Marvel Netflix stuff, it's night and day difference. Like, the Disney Plus stuff feels like a movie that's stretched out to be 6 to 8 episodes. The Netflix Marvel stuff just feel like really good TV shows. Like, I would take more Netflix Marvel stuff like any day of the week over more of the Disney Plus stuff, to be
Yeah.
honest. How do you feel?
Oh, yeah, like, again, like, I hadn't seen a lot of these. As I'm going through, it's like, yeah, I like both seasons of Jessica Jones more than most
Yeah.
of these. Daredevil, Luke Cage. Iron Fist is the only one that's a little iffy for me. But
Yeah,
even
sure.
then, like, Iron Fist over Secret Invasion, Iron Fist over probably around the same, like, I think it's around that, like, She-Hulk, Miss
Yeah.
Marvel area where it's
I
like,
think
this
She-Hulk
is
could have been a really good show
yeah.
if it got more seasons, but I don't
Yeah,
know.
like, I think it's in that category of, like, pretty okay, could
Yeah.
be better,
Yeah,
right? It's
sure.
not bad,
Absolutely.
but it could be up here, you
Yeah,
know?
room for improvement,
Yeah,
I would say.
100%.
Yeah, no, completely. And with Punisher getting his own special presentation, I think this could be a really good way to reintroduce the other Defenders
Yep.
characters. I would
Mhm.
love an Iron Fist special with Danny in costume. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the fact we pretty much never get Danny properly in the
Mhm.
Iron Fist costume over 2 seasons is a travesty. Um, Getting that in a special presentation would have been awesome. I mean, even in
Mhm.
season one of Iron Fist, we got that really, really, really small, like black and white video of it might have been the Orson Iron Fist fighting in World War II. Like imagine a special presentation of something like that where it's like
Yeah.
Danny off in some part of the world just fighting. Like that would be so cool. Like I absolutely
Yeah.
would love to see something like that.
I'm curious because I like made a comment on your like are they returning video I had just watched
Sure.
and like it hit me we're technically getting Iron Fist
Yeah,
back
in Eyes
in
of Wakanda.
2025.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm wondering if that's their way of like reintroducing the character to the
Yeah.
casual audience a
It
little
could
bit.
be.
Um
Because we had an Iron Fist, technically an Iron Fist in What If as well,
it
season
what
three.
if, yeah.
Yeah, but it was like it wasn't even really like the character wasn't even really called Iron Fist, I don't think.
Yeah.
Like it was like I don't know. Um ABC Studios really cooked with all the Marvel content. They made all the shows, including the Netflix ones. Yeah, no, they like as a production company, like they are pretty undefeatable. Like they really did put out some of the greatest stuff that Marvel's ever had. Like easily. I mean, I know they had like Inhumans and stuff like that, but yeah, 100% Daisy. Yeah, for sure. Um, Bucky will be great to see. I would love if Miss Marvel or Hawkeye showed up. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think I think we should be getting Kamala over her dad, but who knows?
I would not be because they've like kind of hinted at some Miss Marvel stuff. So I'm like, I wouldn't be like completely blown away if
Yeah,
she showed up in here. Like, I wouldn't be like, oh my gosh, I can't believe it. I'd be like, yeah, it makes sense. Her dad's here.
yeah.
Um, I think I'd prefer Kate over Hawkeye though, to be honest. Like, I
I
think
would
Kate would
too.
be
I
cool.
think Kate would suit the tone better than Clint.
Mhm.
Kind of not even the tone, just the style of show it is. I think I don't know where you would make Clint sort of fit. Whereas like at least Kate sort of has an attachment to New York and stuff like that. Um, does the new Daredevil movement contradict with the old Daredevil TV show? Will they ever explain how Kingpin can get hit by an arrow and live? Hawkeye since Netflix, he is 100% human. Um, he's definitely more acrobatic in what we've seen from the teases or like the teasers or whatever.
Mhm.
Like for the new show, he definitely seems like he moves a lot. That's just I think down to like higher budget and the fact that the Netflix show was 100% a much more grounded show. Like it
Yeah.
was supposed to be like its own little corner of New York, and stuff like that. What do you think?
I mean, that's something I already like about the show slightly
Yeah,
more is that already it feels slightly more comic booky, which I
it
know
does.
people love that original show because it is so grounded and dark. But my main complaint with this entire little corner of the universe is that sometimes it feels a little afraid to become a
Yeah,
comic book show. It's like, oh, they're just guys running around and stuff like that. So I
yeah,
think like him jumping around more, that's very exciting to me.
yeah.
When Luke Cage shows up again, I want him in that bright yellow shirt.
God,
I want
I
Danny
I
in his
want them to do it.
suits. Yeah.
I feel like it just it gets me so much that Luke Cage in every single poster for his show and in every single poster for the Defenders is wearing that yellow t-shirt that he always wears in the comics. But then in the actual stuff and in the shows and all that, he wears it like once and that's it. Like,
Yeah.
why were they so allergic to even just having him wear the yellow shirt? I don't get it. But yeah, like it definitely feels like a much more I don't know, like comic booky show with like a lot of the movement. It's got the quick movement,
Yeah.
which I'm excited to see. Marvel's Ace in 2025 is having showrunners, something Marvel TV had 6 years ago.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
The fact they were trying to make TV for 4 years without showrunners is completely bizarre. Like, you're not making TV, you're just making movies.
I mean, we have a couple still, right?
Sure, yeah.
Because Ironheart will not have a showrunner.
Okay.
I think Wonder Man will, but Wonder Man still kind of feels like part of that old regime.
It absolutely does, yeah.
Like it's 8 episodes, but it's like they said it's going to be like 20 to 30-minute episodes, and I was like,
yeah,
we'll see, you know. So
it definitely does feel like this. I don't know. I think 2025 will kind of be like the last year of like that sort of stuff. I think 2026 will for sure feel sort of like a new era of Marvel.
Next year, not to get off track here because I know you have to get into it, but like next year might genuinely be the best year for Marvel of all time. Like you have Avengers 5, Spider-Man 4, Daredevil season 2, Punisher, X-Men season 2, Spider-Man season 2. Vision Quest is the only one that's kind of like, okay, we'll see what that is.
I'm excited for Vision Quest just because of Terry Matalas being the showrunner. Because he's a really good showrunner.
And Ultron, yeah.
And Ultron, James Spader back for that is crazy.
One of the craziest lineups I think we've had. Like I think this year's really good, but next year feels like they kind of just feel like all these like some of their biggest characters are just getting put to screen every couple months, which is going to be really fun.
Yeah, no, that's true. Sorry, I know we have to get into the ranking, so I'm going.
I know.
I'll do
so many comments.
I'll rush through some of these last ones. Hello, this is my first time here. I would like to know your opinion on Marvel's Runaways and Cloak and Dagger show. I think Cloak and Dagger was a really good show. I thought it was super underrated, super underwatched. It was a really fun show. Runaways, I was a little bit more hit or miss on. I remember really liking Runaways season 1, not really being into season 2, and then really liking season 3. But I think it was like Runaways was kind of one of those shows that I didn't think about much once it was over. Like it would come out once a year, I'd binge it, and then not really think about it till the next season. But it was fun. I do think the fact that Disney removed it from Disney Plus and is trying to like wipe the show out of existence is insane. How do you feel about those shows?
I haven't finished either, not because I actually really loved them. I never went back. But I think since I'm on my Marvel binge, I think I'm just going to like complete all the ones I missed out. So once I'm done with these shows, I'll do these, maybe Legion.
Legion's awesome. I think you love Legion. Legion's a really cool show.
Especially since Spider-Man just did Nico, and I'm having like a craving to get more of that character.
Yeah. No, yeah, completely. Yeah, Legion's a great show. Like it just went under everyone's radar because I feel like nobody really knew what it was, so nobody really watched it. But it was great. In your opinion, what's your plan? They can't keep building every 5 years, teaming up, doing a big crossover fight. Will any character get finalized conclusions within the MCU? I mean, you're definitely right. Like they're not going to just bring these characters back. I think it's wild though. We're supposed to be getting the real MCU reboot kind of in the next 2 years with Secret Wars. So I think what's likely is that we're actually going to see a pretty big longevity with Matt, Luke, Jessica, Danny if he comes back, because when the reboot happens, they're not going to recast these characters because they've seen the backlash when they try to recast TV characters.
Yeah.
So I think when the reboot happens and a ton of like major MCU characters have different faces, we're probably going to see the Defenders be the same people, which means they're probably going to last for a lot longer, maybe 10 years, and then that'll be it. We'll see them get faded out then.
I mean, here's the thing. Iron Fist people haven't liked them. I also looked it up. The Luke Cage actor is almost 50, right? It's
Mike Colter, yeah.
Yeah, it's like fantastic actor. It'd be hard to see him recast. But and this doesn't just go for them. This goes for every single Marvel actor. They are going to have to sit down with every single one of these actors and be like, listen, do you want to do this for the next 15 years?
Yeah.
No? Okay. Then we are going to have to talk about your retirement plan.
Yeah.
We're going to have to talk about wrapping your story up and potentially recasting you post Secret Wars. Because this is it. This is the time to do it. If you want to recast, now is the time.
So, I think you're right. Yeah, for sure. Like they can get away with getting rid of whoever they want with Secret Wars, no matter what. But I think just because we're only getting these people back this year and next year, right as the reboot's about to happen, means that they're probably safer from
Yeah,
this than anybody
I
else. I
agree.
also feel like it, Charlie Cox has said in reviews and stuff like that, or not reviews, in like interviews and stuff like that, that he's happy to keep doing Daredevil for
Oh
a
yeah,
long time now that he's been roped into the main MCU. I feel like you
Charlie's
get
not going anywhere.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And I feel like you get Krysten Ritter to come back, she'll be the same. She'll be like,
Mm,
hell yeah, I'd love to stick around. Mike Colter as well. Finn Jones was always really into the Marvel lore and into the Iron Fist stuff. So I
sure.
think, a lot of these TV people, they're probably going to stick around if you bag them. Same with Chloe Bennett, if you just asked her, Marvel, or Ming Na Wen, or Clark Gregg, or any of these people. Give me the double Ds, yeah. The Daredevil double Ds, we need to see them on the costume for sure. I don't know why they don't have them. The new costume, it feels like there's space for them. It feels
Mhm.
like it's almost waiting for them. It better not be
I
like a finale thing where it's like he finally earns the double,
I have a
the
I
two
know you
letters.
have to get through these, but I
Yeah.
have a feeling it's Secret Wars. I have a
Oh
feeling
yeah.
they're waiting for him to have that suit when when he's with all the heroes. Like, we have
Okay.
that giant lineup. It's that giant whatever.
Yeah.
Um,
That'd be awesome.
that would be cool.
Do you think they should have waited to release Born Again after Ironheart and Wonder Man, since those were made before Marvel retooled how they do TV shows? Um, I think if that was the case, they shouldn't have filmed Born Again. I hate when Marvel films something and sits on it for
Mm,
years, like they did with Ironheart. Um, I think since they filmed it, they should release it now. If they hadn't filmed it, then yeah, maybe wait till after Ironheart or Wonder Man. So you guys kind of mentioned it. Ultron coming back. Does death not exist within the MCU, and why should we care if a character dies if they keep bringing them back, like Robert Downey Jr. as Doom?
mhm.
Uh, yeah, I think Ultron is a bit different than other
It
characters
is.
coming back
Yeah.
because he's a computer program, and it's like he's gonna, those kind of things are constantly gonna come back. Plus,
Mhm.
as James Spader, Ultron is a huge part of the Marvel comics, and he only got one film,
One.
really.
Yeah.
Yeah, like
And
it's
also people didn't love him in that project as much.
he was
So this is
underused for sure in it.
yeah, it's like he shouldn't have just been a one and done. It should have been at least a couple movie event or
Yep,
whatever to
I agree.
because Ultron's
I mean,
huge. Yeah.
Ultron should have been his own phase.
I agree.
Like,
I
I
agree.
think you retool Phase 3, have it all be Ultron, and then Phase 4 is finally when you do Infinity War and Endgame, and
I
then you
would
move
prefer
on for that.
Ultron over King and Doom, I think.
I probably I'm still waiting to see what they do with Doom, and I
Yeah.
think Kang was used really well in Loki. But if we're talking Ultron over like Ant-Man 3 Kang, then I agree for sure. Sadly, I think they will have to revamp Kingpin. They can't keep him around forever. He's a lot older. Shame they wasted 6 years of all our lives. I do think Daredevil Kingpin Endgame is in the cards. Uh, yeah, I mean, after just finishing a rewatch of Daredevil season 3, I do think it's kind of whack that Kingpin is back, like in charge of everything, and like
Sure.
you watch season 3 of Daredevil, and you're like, how the hell is this guy not at the bottom of like the raft at the moment? Like it
Yeah.
makes no sense.
And
So
he's mayor. He's not
he is
even just
mayor as
free,
well.
he's
Yeah,
mayor.
he's mayor.
People voted. To be fair though, I do hope they incorporate the snap stuff into it. I hope they
They better.
incorporate
I want to
like
mention that. I want to know what they were up to.
yeah, people were very desperate during that time maybe.
Yeah,
Maybe they were willing to forgive or whatever. I don't
yeah.
know.
I agree with that. I think in terms of like what the goal for Kingpin is, I 100% think they're building to like Mayor Kingpin / Devil's Reign arc in the comics, where a lot of these street level characters have to team up to take down Kingpin. I would be surprised if Spider-Man 4 doesn't include Fisk in at least the tiniest of capacities, unless Spider-Man 4 is set on Battleworld between the two Avengers films, then probably not. But if Spider-Man 4 is set in New York and is a normal, straightforward Spider-Man film, I think it will be insane for Fisk not to be in it.
Yeah.
It's crazy because Kingpin has never died in the comics, as far as I know. Yeah,
Oh.
um, that is true. He is always that villain who's just kind of ever present and is like always a problem for the heroes. So we'll see about that. Could we get Defenders season 2 on Disney Plus in the future? I think it's more likely now than it was a year ago.
Yeah.
I think it's definitely possible. I think it just depends on how likely it is that we get characters like Jessica Jones. The thing is, they never call
Mm,
themselves the Defenders or anything like that
mm.
in the show, and they're not even necessarily a team. It's just these four people.
Circumstance.
Yeah, these
Yeah.
four people fall into each other's lives, and then they fall out of each other's lives just as quick. Like it's not really like they were a full team in the Netflix stuff. Kang should have been in Endgame because from what I can remember, he's a time traveler. Yeah, if Marvel had planned out anything better, they would have set up the Kang stuff more. That said, if Kang was in Endgame, it probably would have been even more awkward to get rid of him and pivot to Doom. So maybe they're thanking themselves they didn't do. Brother forgot to drop the link in the Discord. Sorry, Luke, I did. I for sure did. But you're here now. So okay, one last comment, then we'll start the ranking. I wonder if they could cast a new Kingpin as good as Vincent. Fox was able to recast Charles and Eric pretty well. That is true, but I think the difference there is that Fox weren't trying to replace Charles and Eric, or weren't trying to replace Patrick Stewart and Ian McKellen. They were trying to cast younger versions of them.
Yeah.
Unless they cast like a person who's supposed to be a younger Vincent, which we already have a younger Fisk in the shows. If they try and cast somebody as the new current Fisk, I don't think it would play over as well as like a prequel style Charles.
Not
Xavier
with Charlie, right? Like in 10 years, once you reboot it, sure, but
exactly. If it's a whole new version of these characters, then absolutely. But if it's supposed to be like a Harrison Ford as Thunderbolt Ross-esque recast, it's not going to work because Vincent is this depiction of the character. He's this version. When it comes to Charlie Cox's Daredevil, I can't see him facing off against a Kingpin that isn't Vincent D'Onofrio.
Yeah.
All right, we talked a lot, but so we'll do some of these other.
People love you.
Hey, look, they just people love when Marvel shows get brought back into the MCU. Is what I'm learning. Okay, where is it? Okay, can you see this?
Yes.
Okay. Do you want me to zoom in on it anymore, or is this okay?
Up to you. I can see him, but if you want to, by all means.
I'll zoom in like this. Okay, so we're gonna be going in release order. So Daredevil season 1 to Jessica Jones season 3. Some of these Darren hasn't seen. One of these I haven't rewatched yet. I've seen all of them at least once, and I've rewatched all of them over the last 2 to 3 weeks, other than Jessica Jones season 3. I'm currently on Punisher season 2. And then at the end, we're just going to give kind of our broad thoughts on where we think each of these fit. So we're going to put them in S, which is like peak, greatest, perfect. A is like really, really, really good. B is it's good. It's good. And then C is it's a little bit whatever, but it's fine. And D is it's just bad. So that work for you?
Yep.
Okay.
Just to like clarify, I've revisited 8 of these, just like on my current watch where I've seen 8, and then the 9th I have seen, but it's been many years. I think last time I saw that one was Spider-Man No Way Home, so you can kind of guess which one I watched then.
You watched Iron Fist season 2 then?
Absolutely. Yeah, of course.
Okay. All right, it's Daredevil season 1 is the original. Speaking of Daredevil season 1, I dug this out today. This is a sci-fi magazine from the month Daredevil season 1 came out. I got this in the airport in Edinburgh in Scotland, like a week before Daredevil season 1 came out, and the whole it even has a little Supergirl 2015 first look on.
Oh wow.
But yeah, I was so hyped for Daredevil. It's crazy that we are 9 years and 11 months since. Oh, there he is. There's Matt. 9 years and 11 months since Daredevil season 1 came out, and we are getting the sequel show next week. Like, that's so crazy. So where would you put Daredevil season 1, do you think?
Oh man, I mean, it's hard because I don't have the whole list like put together yet. But it is really hard to beat. Like, I have not seen season 3. I haven't rewatched season 3 yet, so that'll be very interesting to see where that lands.
Yeah.
But season 1 is such a perfect season of television to me. Like, it might be the best comic book origin story in terms of like the introduction of a hero. Yeah. Like, it is really crazy. Like, the way they introduce Matt, the way they introduce Kingpin as well is crazy. And what I love about that season is they're both kind of the main characters.
They are.
You're watching both of their journeys, and as they slowly collide through middle of the season to the end of the season, and you end it and you're like, man, I kind of don't want Matt to do this, man. Like, I love this guy so much. And his journey to like discovery to becoming that hero that we know. Like I know a lot of people make fun of the fact that he had to like earn his suit, but that feels so satisfying
It is
watching him
satisfying, yeah.
get there. It's so, and I love. I think Kingpin is almost like the MVP because I love how they introduced that character. You
Yeah.
slowly just like mention his name, and then you see the in-world consequences of him and the fear that he brings just name alone. Right? Someone killed themselves because they knew if he had heard about what he did, they would have done it way worse, right?
Yeah.
So they do such a good job with that. I mean, I don't know how you feel. I'd be willing to give it an S tier. I
Oh,
think it's
I for sure think it's
okay.
it's an S tier season. I'm thinking of putting these kind of in the order that like we feel about them. So like Daredevil is it's the
Sure.
only one we ranked, but it's first at the moment, you know.
Right.
Um, but no, yeah, I completely agree. I think Daredevil season one is probably the most perfect first season of a comic book television show. The only ones I think kind of rival it are like The Flash season 1, but, you know, The Flash
Mm.
season 1 is a 23 episode CW show, so there are a lot of episodes in there that aren't as good as
Sure.
the peak parts of the season, but with Daredevil season 1, it's 13 episodes where you really don't have a weak episode. It's just constant the whole way through. The visuals are beautiful. It's directed like this neo-noir just sort of movie. The first episode when we're in Matt's apartment and the big neon sign beside his apartment is shining all those purple lights in is just
Yeah.
so good. Charlie's acting is phenomenal. I don't know, like you would believe he's a blind man with the way that he just does such an excellent job at not looking at people.
Yeah.
I think he even said in an interview after season 1 came out where he was like he's had to relearn how to make eye contact with people
Hmm.
because he just keeps acting as if he's blind around them where he's just not looking straight at them.
Right.
Um the flashbacks in season 1 to like Matt and Foggy meeting up and like avocados at law and
Yeah.
just all that sort of stuff is so good. It's just it gets dark, but it's sort of a feel good season. Like
Mm.
there are so many
Sure.
times in Daredevil season 1 where you're just laughing, or you're just smiling, or you're just having fun and a good time. Like it's grounded, but it's not this just completely gritty, devoid of fun and humor and emotion sort of season that a lot of people make it sound like it is. Like there's a lot to it. There's a lot of heart in it. And I think it's pretty much a perfect season. So we both good with it being an S then?
Totally. Yeah.
All right, let me just revisit some comments here. Wondering what's the best. Yeah, we'll see. It's gonna be Iron Fist season 1 is for sure everybody's
Of
favorite
course.
season here. It was 17, 2015. I don't know what age I was. 2015? It might have been 17 too. That that sounds like it lines up. Yeah, it
Yeah.
probably would have been. Um Daredevil season 1 had the best color grading and lighting, just phenomenal. Season 2 is good at it, just not perfect. I would probably agree with that. I think Daredevil season 1 might be it's not my visually favorite season of the Marvel Netflix stuff. There's another season or 2 seasons here we're going to talk about that I think like are stylistically some of the coolest stuff Marvel's ever made. But
Hmm.
I think in terms of the visuals, yeah, I can't disagree that Daredevil's season 1 like beats season 2 and probably beats season 3 as well.
Yeah. I hope we can bring a little bit of that to the Disney Plus
Yeah.
era of these shows. Like, not to completely shit on them. I think they look fine most of the time.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, let's be honest. Sometimes Marvel's visuals do leave something to be desired. It's like,
Especially on Disney Plus, I feel like. I think
yeah,
Loki looked really, really, really good.
Loki's good. Yeah.
To be honest, that is the one thing from the Daredevil trailers and stuff like that that I'm not
Hmm.
completely on board with
That's
yet.
fair.
I think the visuals look really good, but in terms of like the color, I
Hmm.
think it looks a little flat in moments. There's those scenes we're seeing where there's like it's like a bank robbery or something like that. You know, the guys with the masks on with the like the
Hmm.
guns and stuff like that, and then like Matt's like beating them up. In those few shots we've seen, it looks a little flat. I'm hoping maybe that was just the trailer and they color graded a bit better for the show itself. But yeah, I hope it visually can like somewhat match up. Okay, next up, Jessica Jones season 1, which came out in November of 2015. I know you're a big fan of this season.
Yeah.
So what's your thoughts on it?
I couldn't believe how good it was. Like, I had seen this previously, but then like there's a part of me that was kind of dreading Jessica Jones for whatever reason, I don't know why. I was like, oh, it's kind of boring or whatever. I
Yeah.
could not believe how good this season of TV. This
Yeah.
might be. I don't think I've ever made like a top seasons of TV list or whatever. This might be my top 10 seasons of television.
Wow. Okay. Okay.
I
Cool.
I adore it, and like again,
Yeah.
we're gonna get to it, but like I think Jessica Jones has a vibe of a show that I really enjoy. Like even season 2, and we'll talk about that. I really, really enjoyed because I think it has such a of this like jazzy PI detective vibe they have
Yeah.
going on is so much fun to just
Yeah. It is.
live in.
Yeah.
And it feels like you're just living in this obviously a world that still feels like Marvel,
Yeah.
but has such a unique vibe
Yeah.
comparatively to any, let's be honest, comic book project of all time. I'd
Yeah.
argue it's so good. Like this actress Krysten, right, is her name?
Yeah. Krysten Ritter.
Ritter. Again, I don't know the comic version. Perfect cast.
Yeah.
It's insane how good she is at playing that character. I just got done with David Tennant's Doctor Who, so like he's such a
Cool coming into
talent,
this for that,
and
yeah.
then seeing his Doctor Who contrasted to Kilgrave is crazy work. It is night and day, and I think that's an actor who has so much range and so much talent.
Yeah.
And we were talking about this on Discord, and there's something. This is a season of TV that I watched it like 3 or 4 weeks ago. I have not stopped thinking about. It's like
It
themes
stays in
and
your head.
ideas.
It stays in your head. Yeah.
And like we were talking on Discord about just like this theme of like what does it mean to be a good person?
Yeah.
I think is so interesting.
Like can you stay good if you have that power?
Yeah. Like yes, it's like if you have the ability to get whatever you want, will you use that? And that's something I find myself thinking about a lot is like, would I? Like could I stay good knowing that I physically could get away with whatever I wanted? And I think that's a really good brain exercise
it's a great
for
concept.
everybody to have. Yeah, I think it's important to have. It was like, what are your morals of just like see that's interesting. Like, are you a good person because you're really good, or are you good because you're afraid of getting caught? Is also interesting.
It's like it's because you don't want people to think of you differently, or is it because you truly want to be that way?
Yeah.
Like it's great. And I think it's the kind of thing that nobody is able to know unless they're in that situation. Like nobody
100%.
can truly say if they would not use those powers to do bad things until they actually have those powers. Like, can somebody restrain themselves? Is anybody truly that good? It's like, the saying power corrupts. What is it? Power corrupts completely or something like that. It's like, anybody with power, it corrupts them eventually. It's kind of thing where it's like with Kingpin, is that, or not Kingpin, sorry, Kilgrave, is that the same thing where they're just, it's gonna corrupt them no matter what. And I just, I don't know, I think it's absolutely fantastic the way that they handle that this season, because we even get little moments where Jessica's trying to make Kilgrave better, where like she's trying to make him be a little bit hero. She's not trying to make him better. She's just trying to make him use his powers for not shitty things.
Right.
And he does it briefly and he's like, that felt okay, but I mean, I could get what I want. Why do I need to be a hero, sort of thing?
Right.
And it's just, it's phenomenal sort of stuff. I completely agree with you that it's like, it's one of the best comic book seasons of all time, like in every single way.
I'd argue the best Marvel villain. Like, I think him and Kingpin are like right up there with like what Thanos, I guess, would be the
I completely agree.
Comparable. Yeah.
Like Thanos, Loki, Kilgrave, like Ada from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Like that's my list of
Ward.
Marvel characters. Yeah, Ward as well. Yeah, I don't want to say Ward because I know a lot of people don't put Ward up there, but I do put Ward up there.
I also put Ward up there.
Hell yeah. But no, I agree with what you're saying about like the noir, like PI sort of feel to it. It feels like a 1950s detective show or something like that, which I absolutely love. It's like, the way every long running TV show at some point does that noir episode where the music is all jazzy and everyone's like, talking like they're from the 1950s or something like that. Jessica Jones is that for the whole show, and it's really, really, really fun. I think it's beautiful. The opening credits are they're like a painting. They're like just watching like comic book pages unfold almost, and it's so enjoyable. Yeah, so I'm guessing you would put Jessica Jones season 1 in an S.
Yeah, I think so
Okay.
far out of the 9 I've seen, it's my favorite. It's my number 1
Okay, it's
spot.
your favorite.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I also think, just like while we're on the topic, like why I've enjoyed these shows so much, and I think this is something the Arrowverse suffered with. I'd also argue the MCU sort of suffers with this. Each one, if you like the show or not, feels so different,
Yeah.
right? They do such a good job of making them feel like they're all part of the same world,
Yeah.
but also so distinct and one-off. You technically can watch Luke Cage without seeing Daredevil, right? They are
Absolutely.
their
Absolutely.
solo projects.
They're so
And I
different
think,
in genre even.
yes, they're all different genre shows.
Yeah.
And I think, and I've been debating with this on people, like what James Gunn's doing. I think this is what he's aiming for. I think he's aiming for things that feel connected under one roof,
Yeah.
that is also their own individual things with their own individual styles and tones and whatever. Like, I think if you could, again, we were talking about, maybe it was earlier, I think the best shared universe I've seen up until this point in terms of just like its connectability and also just how it's templated, which is crazy.
Yeah. No, I completely agree with you. Like it feels like the Marvel Netflix shows are a perfect exercise in giving your creators and your directors control. Like
Yeah.
give them an overall idea of what you'd like the stuff to end up as, which is Defenders. But in general, let them be creative, let them make what they want to make, sort of thing, which I think it's nothing short of just impressive what they come out with here. Like, I would argue the Marvel Netflix shows are more impressive than the main MCU is, just in terms of like how
Kind of.
connected everything is. Like, you've got 4 different TV shows that all join together to form a separate TV show. Like, this isn't like the Arrowverse crossovers where
No.
they have the crossover be a part of all the shows. Defenders was an entirely separate TV show that 4 shows built over the span of 2 years to form. Like, that's just so impressive.
I mean, and I'd also argue the 2 we've ranked so far better than anything in the main MCU.
I
Like,
would
the
agree.
only thing kind of close is like Winter Soldier, and then even then I'd say,
I think like
yeah.
Winter Soldier, Infinity War, like Guardians 3 and Loki, I guess for me would get super
Sure.
close to how much I like the Marvel Netflix stuff. But like, I don't know, I'm gonna spoil what my favorite Netflix season is right now. But like Daredevil season 3, I think eclipses anything that's come out of the main MCU
Yeah.
by far. I think Daredevil season 3 is absolutely perfect in every way, shape, and form. Jonathan said, on rewatch, Kilgrave is creepier than what I remember. David Tennant's performance. He's creepy. He's scary.
Crazy.
He's unnerving. He's the one villain out of like any comic book thing that like if you see him on the street,
Run.
you're just running the other direction. You're like,
Yeah.
I don't want no part of this. I don't know
Yeah.
what I don't want him to look at me. I don't want him just to look at me and say, go like put your head through that wall. Like
Yeah.
that is so much scarier to me than seeing like Thanos snapping his finger or something like that, you know?
And like like their ability to write a character that powerful with a semi-grounded show is
Yeah.
very impressive, because I'm never like, oh, she escaped again. Like, it always feels very like well written and well, like Cicada was a thing where it's like, oh, he got away. Oh,
Look
this
at him
is
jumping off.
right. And it's like, no, it's like it's believable that Jessica is surviving these situations because of how they've written it, which is very impressive.
Absolutely. No, I completely agree. Like they somehow make this stuff believable. I will say some of the later stuff in like Jessica Jones, like in the seasons of Jessica Jones, feels goofy in a way that doesn't tonally work for me. But I think Jessica Jones season 1 manages that tone to absolute perfection. Like I think it's amazing. Okay, next up, Daredevil season 2, which came out in March of 2016. How do you, now this is such a weird season because people talk about it like it's a bad season for some reason. It's not. I mean, hot take. I actually think I slightly prefer season 2 to season 1, just because it feels like a comic book season. Like, I mean, the Punisher stuff in season 2 on its own beats anything from season 1. I feel like.
Oh wow, yeah. I so yeah, this is a conversation I've had over on my side of the thing a lot, where it's like trying to defend I think The Boys season 4 kind of falls into this too, where it's like the worst season of a show does not necessarily mean it's a bad season.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
Like there's always going to be a worst. There could be a droppage in quality that does not make it a terrible season. And I think Daredevil falls into this, where in people's minds are like, oh, season 2 is the weakest, thus it must be bad. And it's like, no. It's
It
just
doesn't
not
work like
season
that.
1 and 3, right?
Yeah.
There's a difference there.
Season 2 of Daredevil is still better than most of the other comic book TV you'll see in your life.
I'd still say it's better than majority of like the MCU.
I completely agree. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's that good.
It really is like again, like it's not even a big, like it's literally nitpicky stuff. It's like, well, this thing could have maybe been done slightly better, or maybe you could have changed this little thing. But if you're not like over analyzing it to a point, it's like the same quality, in my opinion, the season 1 and 3. Like it's fine. It's not the end of the world.
I think people just have like the Iron Man 2 issue where it's like Iron Man 2 is all set up for Avengers, and people feel like Daredevil season 2 with the hand stuff is set up for the Defenders. But I mean, I don't even think it is, because I think the hand stuff in season 2 plays a huge role in what the story is for the season. Like it
Yeah.
all connects. The Elektra stuff is extremely important to Matt and his past. It isn't like Elektra's in the show just to set up Defenders. Like Elektra is a huge part of Matt's life.
Mhm.
She is the love of Matt's life. Like even throughout season 3, we can tell that's still the case, where Elektra was the one who Matt was truly, truly, truly in love with. Which is why I think she for sure needs to be showing up again in Born Again at some point, or in the MCU. But I think, the Elektra stuff, I love Elektra in Daredevil season 2. I love the tragic romance and how the season ends, where it's like they're doomed. They're the only two people who get each other, but they're doomed, sort of thing. And it's like a real like Romeo and Juliet story almost, where they come from sort of to not super different worlds, but different enough worlds. And then the Frank Castle Punisher stuff in season 2, it depresses me a little, because Frank is Punisher more in season 2 than he is in either seasons of his own show, which that seems bizarre to me. But that is just another plus for Daredevil season 2, that it's probably the best Punisher stuff we see in the MCU is in this season of Daredevil, unless Born Again beats it. But yeah, I think it's a great season.
Yeah, and like I'd argue, I don't think anything else is coming up, the greatest episode of comic book TV of all time is in that. What is episode 4?
Yeah. Are you thinking of the one on the rooftop, or rooftop one is episode 3? Yeah. Episode 4 is like with the big graveyard monologue,
That's
when
good too.
Frank's like lying up against the tombstone. But like that's the thing, both those episodes could be the greatest of all time, and they are one after another.
Like 3, 4, 5, 6, like that line of episodes are some of the like that scene as well. It's a couple episodes later, but when he's in the court and Matt's up there like doing his thing,
and he realizes Matt is Daredevil. It's just clicking in his head.
Good.
That's what I love about Daredevil. It's like it's got those subtle little things to it that like it doesn't say out loud what it's trying to do, but if you're paying attention to it, it really rewards you well for it. Like it's just it's perfect showing, not telling. I love it.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the kind of stuff I'm a little worried they might lose in Born Again, because it seems like they're trying to like change a lot of the like dialogue stuff and these little things. And in that regard, I think they might lose a little bit of that going into this new show.
I completely agree. I think it's like, I don't know, Daredevil season, or the Daredevil Born Again is gonna be an absolute masterpiece if you're just looking for amazing fights. Like if you're looking for fights that beat the original show, it's probably gonna be fantastic. But if you're looking for a lot of the more quieter character focused moments, jury's still out for me on if Born Again is gonna be that sort of thing. Don't think we responded to this yet. It's so rare that fans defended the idea of soft rebooting when season 3 of Daredevil existing in the MCU is obviously a good thing. Yeah. Like, season 3 of Daredevil being in the MCU is like 5 points to the MCU. Like, it's just that good.
Oh, yeah. I do also just want to say, like, while we're on this topic, like, I do hope people go into this with a slightly clean slate, because
think of it fresh.
You are not beating the original show. I'm sorry. They would have to make the best thing. It would be so incredibly hard to beat the show.
The original was lightning in a bottle. You can't
Yes.
replicate it.
No, absolutely not. It's like painting another Mona Lisa. You're not
Yeah.
gonna do it.
You're not gonna do it.
And that's not a bad thing necessarily. Like, I don't need this to just be Daredevil again. I'm okay with it being a little bit of its own thing, new flares, new ideas. It doesn't have to be a 10 out of 10. As long as it's like in the 8 area, the 8, 9-ish area of like
Yeah.
around the same quality is kind of where I'm at. Like, I don't need it to it'd be nice if it was, right?
Yeah.
But like, I think if we all go in with just like slightly lower expectations, I think we can all be a little happy, if that makes sense.
Like, I'm sure it'll be great in its own way. Like,
Yes.
you know, comparison's the thief of joy or whatever they say? I don't know. I mean, hey, I love comparing things. It gives me joy. But
Mhm.
I think that like you can't look at it as being the same thing because, you know, the showrunner is different. Sure, the
Yeah,
stunt choreographer is the same, a lot of the cast is the same, but the
writers.
composer is different. They don't have John Pagano, whatever his name is, the guy who did like Defenders, Daredevil, the Spider-Man games. He's not back for the
Mhm.
new season. You've got the Newton brothers from X-Men 97 instead doing the music.
Yeah.
Showrunner Eric Olson isn't back. You've got different writers' room almost completely. You've got different directors of photography. I'm sure like a lot of the roles are different. You know, it'd be impossible to create the show again because everybody who made the original show, for the most part, is off in different parts of their career or in different parts of their life. You
Mhm.
can't get them back. The only way to get them back would have been to renew the show for season 4 and make season 4 back in 2019,
Right.
which obviously didn't happen. So we have to look at this as what we're getting now, which is a new Daredevil show that will hopefully have the spirit of the original but stand on its own as its own thing that, you know, is great in its own way. And you're not trying to expect it to reinvent the wheel or something like that. So we'll see. Um, but yeah, so I mean, I think Daredevil season 2 is an S. What do you think?
I think I'd give it like a high A, but I have no issue with S.
Okay.
Like go ahead and throw in an S. That's
I just
no
think when it comes to Daredevil as a
problem.
show, it's just a perfect show.
That's fine. Yeah.
It's
Put it
just
up there. Yeah.
it's I just think the Punisher stuff alone excels that season to being beyond what most people would ever see in the genre. Like this is like look at that poster even. Matt chained to the chimney on the rooftop.
That's a
Like
good
that's just so cool. I love it so much. Okay, Luke Cage season 1, which came out in September of 2016, I believe. How do you feel about Luke Cage season 1?
Luke Cage, man. Luke Cage was kind of an interesting one because it took me a little bit to get into it.
Yeah.
I think the first couple, it throws a lot at you really fast. It's,
It
you
does.
know, it's like, okay, there's a lot of characters, you know. He feels slightly different than the Luke Cage we knew in Jessica Jones. So I was like,
Feels a little bit more
okay.
upbeat, a little bit more happy in his own show.
Yeah, and like, you know, like by episode 2, I was like, I don't know if I'm liking this as much.
Sure.
And then like episode like 4 through like what is it, 8 or so, I don't know, or it's like
When the
okay,
Cottonmouth twist happens.
yes,
Yeah.
it's like okay,
Okay.
this is really good, I'm finding my rhythm, this is great. And then the twist happens and I'm like, oh, okay, this is not going the way I
A different
thought.
show.
And no, it feels like, and like even the back half stuff I actually still like,
Yeah.
but it feels like a season 2 has started. It's
It
like,
does.
okay, now
It
we're in the
does.
second season and it's like, okay, I'm still really liking this. I'm still really enjoying this, but just
Yeah.
something feels off. There's like a culture shock that's like, I don't know. And also I think there's a bit of like, it's not Daredevil season 1, 2. It's not Jessica Jones.
Yeah.
So there is a bit of like, especially on a binge, like
It's a
watching
shock to
the
come
back.
down a little bit.
Yeah, it is like, but still good. Like I think what Mike Colt,
Yeah, Mike Colter. Yeah.
fantastic in this role.
He is so good.
Amazing.
Yeah. I can't see anybody else as Luke Cage.
Yeah, like he is absolutely fantastic. I love his supporting cast. Again, it took me a minute.
Yeah.
I love Misty.
Yeah.
Misty? Yeah, I think
Mercy,
Misty's one of my
yeah. No, you Misty, yeah. I'm
yeah.
thinking of Mercy Graves from from Superman. No, yeah, Misty not, yeah.
Yeah, Misty's probably my favorite character in the show. I think she's incredible. I love Claire in the show.
Claire is really fun, yeah.
I think she's at her strongest in the show. Like
I agree. I think she's at her strongest in Luke Cage, her weakest in Iron Fist. But I
yeah,
mean, I
I
feel
probably
like everybody who's returning is their weakest in Iron Fist.
Sure. Yeah, no. But like it's yeah, like she's fantastic and she just like again, I don't know if I've ever seen that before. Like someone I guess Legends kind of did it with Wally, but like
Yeah,
a
for sure.
character starting in one show and just like traveling to another and being like, yeah, this is my new main home now. Like
Yeah.
I'm just a part of this cast. And it
Yeah.
does it so well, whereas it feels so natural. Which is really cool. Cottonmouth was great. He was
Comment is great.
fantastic.
Yeah.
Kind of wish they didn't kill him. I wish they would have maybe saved that.
I
But
mean, everybody wishes that. Mike
yeah.
Colter himself has said that that's like the one biggest mistake everyone who worked on the show feels about the show is that they wish they didn't get rid of him because they understood themselves once they did it that he was this one of the strongest parts of the show and that getting rid of him changed the trajectory of the show and that they were building up momentum really well and they had to get rid of the momentum once they started fresh with a new villain.
Mhm.
But I agree. I think like I would say the first half of Luke Cage season 1 is really strong and probably like a really strong A, but then I'd say the second half is like B level almost
Mhm.
because it's still solid enough. But like once Diamondback takes over, once Mariah Stokes is kind of the main character on that side, I'm just so much less interested. And
Sure.
plus the show just gets so much more goofy. Like it's not like it was exactly a grounded show up until Cottonmouth dies, but there was a sense of realism to it, a
Mhm.
sense of, like, feeling like this world was real or whatever,
Sure.
and then Diamondback shows up, and he's just, like, shouting down from rooftops, and he's, like, just being just a really strange character and just an unusual character that doesn't feel like he necessarily fits in with the rest of the season.
Yeah,
I don't
and
know.
and and, like, once you kind of, like because, like, yeah, there is, like, a defiantness a little bit with that villain because,
Yeah.
like, you do love Cottonmouth so much, and then once he comes like, "Yep, I'm the new villain now," it's like, "I don't want you," and
Yeah.
like,
Like,
again,
I
like,
liked I liked Con Man. I don't know why you're here.
yeah, and again, if it was a different season, I think I would have approached him in a different perspective.
Sure.
I would have been more into the idea of a villain that has a very personal connection to Luke Cage
Yeah.
that I don't think they fully explore to the fullest,
Yeah.
which is unfortunate. So
I agree with that completely. I think, it I mean, I think Luke Cage as a whole is one of the most stylistically cool things in the MCU. Like just the constant usage of yellow, the constant usage of music, the credits are so cool. Like the seeing the Luke Cage like fist fly across the screen as like New York streets are like plastered over his fist is really, really, really cool. I also love just how all these shows utilize New York. But
yeah,
it's the only American city I've been in, and these shows make me feel like I'm back there. No, it's just it's a fun show for the most part, but the big switch in the middle makes it feel like it makes it feel like almost the most inconsistent of the Marvel Netflix seasons because none of the other shows really have such a big change in how they are from beginning to end. Like I feel like Daredevil season 1 is great throughout. Jessica Jones season 1 is great throughout. Daredevil season 2, a lot of people dislike the hand stuff, but I don't feel like the jump from the Punisher stuff to the hand stuff is hugely different. Whereas like with Luke Cage season 1 to the back half, it really does feel like you're going into a different show.
mhm.
So I know I mean I'd be okay with like a low A or a high B, but where would you put it?
Um, I'm probably a B for me. Um, like, yeah, like, I kind of agree with you. I think, like, first half is like a B, second half probably like a I don't know if I'd say a C, but like a lower
Sure.
B. So I'd probably
Okay.
B for me, but I'm okay with A if you want to
Okay.
put it in A.
The season kind of falls off towards the last few episodes. Yeah. For sure. I feel like that's sort of the thing that a lot of people agree on because I remember a lot of people really being into Luke Cage when it came out because
Mm,
the reviews for it only got the first 6 episodes or so. This was a
gotcha.
thing back with the Netflix shows that the reviewers would always get the first 6 episodes. So the reviewers who got Luke Cage season 1 were singing its praises because they hadn't seen the back half. Similarly, the reviews for Iron Fist were so bad, and I feel like Iron Fist gets slightly better in the back half.
Mm,
And a lot of those reviewers didn't see the second half of the season. They just saw the first 6 episodes and were like, "This is trash. Get this off my screen." Speaking of Iron Fist season 1 being
yeah.
trash and get this off my screen, I don't think it is trash. I think it's all right. I think it's an okay season.
Yeah.
But how do you feel about Iron Fist season 1, Darren?
Yeah. I mean, this one was kind of weird because I had heard the worst possible things I could ever
Same
see.
guy did Inhumans.
Yes, I've
And it's
heard.
yeah,
I have friends who think this is the worst season of comic book TV of all time.
I don't know.
I have all these
Wasn't
things.
Flash season 7 and Flash season 9? Really?
I I honestly like because I was going in thinking this was going to be
Yeah.
atrocious
Yeah.
garbage. I thought it was the all time worst. I go into it, and I kind of ended with like that was all right.
Yeah,
That was
exactly.
okay. You know,
Like, it's just
we
it's fine.
we've seen a lot of bad comic book
Yeah.
TV. You know, um, and listen, like, and again, very much like Luke Cage, I think almost the opposite. Like when you compare it to Jessica Jones, to Daredevil, even the best of Luke Cage, I think in comparison, there's a huge gap
Absolutely.
margin.
Absolutely.
Um, like from the first episode alone, it was like some of the dialogue came across more cringy, and some of the how it's paced, and it doesn't inherently feel like I don't know much about Iron Fist, but it doesn't inherently feel like Iron Fist to the point where he doesn't want to use his powers until like episode
Yeah.
3-ish.
That is the biggest problem with the show, I feel like.
Weirdly enough, though, I actually kind of liked and this is just like a personal thing, but like I'm always very interested in like psychological break stories, and it was like I think it's very fascinating. It's like, oh, I'm coming back from the dead, but
Yeah.
no one believes me. Like that
Yeah.
stuff is very
It's like,
interesting.
I'm Danny Rand. No,
It,
you're not.
it's very like it's kind of fun to watch. I haven't seen it, but it feels very like Marvel's Succession in a way, and just
Yeah,
like
no, I can see that. Yeah.
so
Sure.
like that stuff is really fun, and then I think that middle point when everyone believes them again, but that's not full comic book yet, is the worst of it. Like that stretch is like,
Yeah.
I don't care, I'm bored, I want to move on.
Sure.
But it does, I think, fall into its own. Like I think once Danny makes connections with Colleen, with Claire, they put together a bit of a team. He's
Yeah.
getting more into the Iron Fist stuff. It's like, okay, this is fun, this is cool. There was a little bit of frustration just the way I watched it though, because I did watch like the last 9 episodes in one day. Like I
Yeah, I
just
remember you telling me
binged,
that. You're like, I've just watched 9 episodes of Iron Fist. I was
and
like,
by the end I was like, thank God I'm done. Because it's like I think if I would have watched it weekly, I probably would have had more fun with it.
sure.
Wouldn't have been like, oh, I like it was almost like a chore to watch it.
Yeah.
But
I mean, when you're binging so many of these seasons trying to get to a certain
yep,
date, they're eventually gonna just feel like chores no matter how good they are.
yeah. Yeah, it's like, this is this is a lot.
Yeah.
But no, it's good. I like it. I think, it's kind of like one of those like setup seasons where some of it does kind of feel like you're doing this to set up Defenders
Yeah.
because it is the most
Yeah.
important to that show. So, I like it. I don't love it. It's there. I'd probably give it like a
It's
C.
there. Yeah. No, I completely agree. A C is where I kind of would put it. Like I don't even know if I'd say like a high C. I just think it's like it's fine, it's okay. A D would be like the worst of the worst, but I don't think Iron Fist is
It's
like the
not.
worst of the
No.
worst. I don't think at all. I don't know if you ever saw the marketing stuff for Iron Fist season 1. But they really played it. You know, they like Captain America was called the first Avenger, like in
Mhm.
the movie and stuff like that. They really played up Iron Fist as like calling it the final defender. Because I remember, like,
Mm.
in like a contrast to Captain America, which was really cool. The first trailer for Iron Fist season 1 released at New York Comic Con in October of 2016. And I remember a big part of the trailer was like it would come up going like and then flash out like with like an Iron Fist thing, and then go final, and then like Defender arrives. And it was like such this cool thing as like getting everybody hyped for the Defenders coming up, which
Mhm.
unfortunately made Iron Fist as a whole feel like it was just this small step you've got to get through until Defenders arrives. It
Homework.
feels like Daredevil was made to be its own show outside of the Defender stuff. Jessica Jones was made to be its own show outside of the Defender stuff. Luke Cage the same. But when it came to Iron Fist, it felt like it was only made out of
Yeah.
obligation to get to the Defenders and to have him involved in Defenders. Yeah.
So, just question because like I
Yep.
don't know the behind the scenes of any of these shows.
Sure.
When they made Daredevil, did they have it in mind they wanted to do all these other shows and
Yes.
Defenders? Okay. So
Because
this was all planned.
Daredevil season 1 and Jessica Jones season 1 were released in the first year. But Madame Gao was always planned to be like this overarching thing for them.
Right.
The Steel Serpent logo that Davos uses in Iron Fist season 2 is in Daredevil season 1 as like his logo already, so they were already teasing like Davos being a part of the future. But yeah, they were definitely like planning it out because when Daredevil season 1 came out, it was only 2 years and like 2 months until the Defenders released. So
Wow.
all this stuff released really close. I think it was Comic-Con of 2016 where they like revealed the Defenders like trailer where it was just this giant hand poster made up of the different logos for all the characters, which was really cool. But yeah, they like fully planned. I don't think Punisher was a goal yet. I think they
Mm,
didn't decide on making a Punisher show until he was so successful in Daredevil season 2.
mhm.
But the other 4 characters and Defenders, that was for sure like a planned thing. Um, but yeah, Iron Fist is a show. I think it's fine. It's nowhere near like as bad as people say. It's it's just fine. Like it's got a lot of its issues. It feels kind of messy when you compare it to the other shows. Of course, you're gonna have a bad time. But I mean, when Daredevil and Jessica Jones are some of the best comic book television of all time, and
Yeah,
Iron
it
Fist
stands
feels
out.
like
Yeah.
yeah, Iron Fist. I mean, like I know we're big CW fans here. Iron Fist feels like a CW superhero show,
Yeah.
but it doesn't feel like one of the bad superhero shows. It just feels like one of the mediocre ones that you'd
It's a middle of the road
yeah.
season.
It
Yeah.
feels kind of like a Batwoman season 1, I guess,
Yeah.
where it's like nobody really hates Batwoman season 1, but nobody really is excited to rewatch it either.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So
Yeah.
you good with it being in the sea?
Totally fine. Yeah.
Okay. So Defenders, the big crossover, the Defenders. Before we start Defenders, I do want to say that the Defenders was one of my most anticipated things of all time.
Mhm.
I was so excited going into it. I
Yeah.
actually like made it a big day the day it came out where a lot of my friends came over and I was like badgering them for months being like, "Hey, August 17th, 2017, the Defenders comes out. Everyone's coming to my house and we're watching the whole thing." And so there was
Aw.
like 6 of my friends came over that morning and we watched it all day long. We ordered food and stuff like that.
That's so
Um,
sick.
and it was really fun, but I think that added to my disappointment of it is that I'd
Mm,
been building it up in my head for so long. It was such a big deal for me that it was finally here and we were finally getting it. And then it was just I don't know, the first 2 episodes are these characters not interacting at all. Episode 3, they finally meet up and none of them are wearing costumes. And then it's like it kind of continues like that throughout. But on rewatch, I liked it a lot more. How do you feel about it?
mm. Yeah, I mean, I have like a real memory of when that show was coming out
Oh
and
yeah?
watching that trailer and feeling kind of sad because I hadn't watched the other shows. And like
Sure, yeah, sure.
this was around the time that I was getting into like the Arrowverse stuff. Like
Yeah.
I was really finding my voice and like
Yeah, this would have
this
been just for Invasion, wouldn't it?
yeah, around
Yeah.
that same time was kind of when I was getting into it. And I remember I had watched one episode of each of like the Marvel like of the shows and being like, which one do I want to watch and all that fun
Yeah.
stuff. And like I had a friend that was like, you have to get caught up, you have to watch it, this is huge.
It's a
And
big
me being
deal.
like, I don't know, I'll get to it.
Yeah.
Um didn't watch it back then though. I didn't watch it until um No Way Home came out.
Okay.
And like up until that point, I had seen Daredevil season 1, season 2. I was like, I want to just finish the Daredevil or the Daredevil journey. So I
Yeah.
watched Defenders. I watched season 3. And you know what? Like rewatching this was such a fun experience because I really didn't get the full picture. Because when I rewatched it, I didn't have a fresh memory of Daredevil or
Sure.
Jessica Jones. I hadn't seen Luke Cage. I
Who's
hadn't
this
seen
Matt
Iron
Murdock
Fist.
guy? And why is he
Yeah.
blind?
So like watching it now, having gone through the actual journey
Yeah.
of seeing Daredevil, Jessica Jones, Luke Cage, Iron Fist, knowing all these side characters, I had a really, really good time with Defenders. I had a blast with the show.
Yeah.
Like again, like I spent was it 2 days ago? Yeah. I think it was 2 days ago. I just binged through it the whole day.
Yeah.
I started like early morning. I'm just gonna go through it. And things like Luke Cage, Iron Fist started becoming a little bit of a drag to me, not because they were
Yeah.
bad, just because like I have to watch this. This is
Yeah, you
homework.
gotta get through
I have
it.
to get through them. This I had no problem. I had a smile on my face the whole
Yeah.
time. It's just fun to
It is
have
just fun.
these
Yeah.
characters interact. it is any character where it's just like not even like the main four. Like, yes, I get that that's cool, but when you have like Misty and like Colleen, or you have
Yeah.
Karen and
Yeah, you got Karen, Foggy, Trish, Malcolm,
yes,
Misty, Colleen, all
it's
in the
like this
same
is
police ring.
crazy.
Yeah.
It really made me feel like a nostalgia I would feel for the Arrowverse crossovers back in the day, where you just have all the characters from all the shows interacting together.
Yeah.
Is it a little messy? Yep, I think so. I like we've talked about this previously. Couldn't give a damn about the hand. I'll be honest. I just could
They're
never.
kind of boring. Yeah.
I just like they were fine in Daredevil. They were fine in Iron Fists, and like I would find myself through the show being like, wait, what are we doing again? Like, what's
Like
the plot?
like who's Alexandra and who's all these extra hand characters who just
It's
showed
like,
up? Why are there 5 fingers of the hand and where's Gao? And it's just it's a lot of random stuff that just kind of happens.
yeah.
It's no, I completely agree with you. Like, I mean, my ideal world like would have been that the hand wasn't the villain, that they almost like just it was some form of like a Legion of Doom of like New York villains, where if Cottonmouth and Kilgrave were still alive, that they like I don't know, went around I don't know how you make it work, no, make it realistic. You absolutely couldn't. But I don't know, if Kingpin or Fisk or whatever decided to form a mini sort of like villain group to take over a little section of New York, and to do that, has to team up with like Mariah Stokes and Shades, since they're still around from Luke Cage. And like Madame Gao gets roped into it because Madame Gao already worked with Fisk in Daredevil season 1, and that drags Danny in. And I don't know. I think it would have been better than having the whole hand be a part of it. But I do think that as fun as Defenders is, it does sort of feel like it was them doing the bare minimum because they wanted to get back to their main shows. I think the fact that none of them have costumes, the fact that there's kind of only 3 proper fight scenes. One takes place in a restaurant, one takes place in a boardroom, and one takes place in that like dark underground cavern place. The I don't know, the fact that Danny is back in like the first scene of the show after leaving in the last scene of Iron Fist, it's a lot of that sort of stuff where I don't feel like the story was super fleshed out. I don't feel like the villains were super fleshed out. I felt like because they had to shut down the production on all of the other Defender shows in order to make the Defenders, they preferred to just get it out of the way so they never had to make it again. And instead, from now on, just, text Charlie Cox's manager and ask him, hey, do you want to show up on Jessica Jones for an episode next season, rather than doing any Defender stuff again. I for sure think it was just sort of an obligation they had to get out of the way, and they were really looking forward to doing what they wanted. I'm sure the Daredevil writers were extremely happy that Defenders gave them the opportunity to do the Daredevil season 3 storyline, since it started with Matt dead to the world, and they could really sort of dig into that. But I do for sure think that if the writers of these individual shows were given the option to do the Defenders or not, I have a funny feeling they would have opted not to, and just to continue their solo shows instead. I don't understand why this show was shorter than the others. I feel like it would have benefited greatly from it. The reason it was shorter than the others is because Defenders, they had to shut down the production on other Marvel Netflix shows in order to make it. So the longer Defenders took to make, the longer it would take to get like Daredevil season 3 or like Jessica Jones season 2.
Like I don't know if I would have gave them the 13, but I think they would have done well with like a 10 or even like a 9, like even just one extra episode to pace it out a little better.
I think because by the time you're kind of getting into the story, it's already sort of over. Gao and Pikuto are the only ones we actually know, and they killed off Nobu before the show, which he should have been perfect. I think it's so weird that Nobu, we show him come back like 3 times over the course of Daredevil seasons 1 and 2, and then he comes back again at the end of Daredevil season 2 just for that scene where Stick is like standing in front of him and slits his throat and is like, "Not this time, you don't," and then he dies. Like I would have. I mean, I get it.
Villain. Yeah,
I get it. Nobu was used a lot, but
because like I think having Elektra be kind of like the big bad or the main person we're fighting with smarts.
Yeah,
But also it does kind of feel weird at the same time. Like there's something that doesn't quite fully translate to me.
yep.
Like again, maybe it's just we needed more time because it was very rushed. It was very
It
sped
was
up,
very rushed.
but
Yeah. It definitely felt rushed.
yeah.
But I feel
But
like they used the sets from the other shows, which probably helped them film it pretty quickly. Like they didn't really have to rebuild a lot of new sets. It was like, okay, we have Colleen's apartment from Iron Fist. We have the Harlem precinct here. We have
right.
Matt's apartment here. We don't have to build new stuff. We can just reuse everything. But I mean, that also makes it feel really cool. That makes it feel like this like Arver style crossover where you're just going into the other people's locations, which I love, and it's something I'm hoping Born
Mhm.
Again somehow does. Um, in terms of where I'd put it,
I don't know.
I would be okay with a high B, but I
Mhm.
enjoyed it enough in a rewatch that I could put it in a low A. But
Oh
it's
wow.
how do you feel?
I definitely don't know if I could go an A.
Okay, a B works then. Well,
Yeah, I
unless you
think
want to put in a C or anything.
no, yeah,
Okay,
like, I think B's solid because again, it is like we can talk about what didn't work, but like this is one of those shows where I almost don't give a shit because it's so
sure.
much fun just to have these characters interacting.
Yeah,
Although it was really hard to take it seriously. Where Matt's in his full-on costume, he's in Daredevil suit, and it's
yeah,
just got jeans and Luke Cage in a
yeah.
ripped shirt, and it's like
And Matt and like just a
he looks so
black.
silly.
I don't know. It definitely it's one of those moments where you really do feel like the Netflix shows just didn't love the idea of being full on comic book shows.
Yep.
They almost wanted to just be genre focused, like standalone gritty shows set in New York.
Action shows.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Like they wanted Jessica Jones to be an action PI show. They wanted Luke Cage to be a show set in Harlem about a guy who happens to have powers. They wanted Iron Fist to be. I mean, Iron Fist's kind of a bit different. I feel like Iron Fist sometimes got
Yeah.
more comic booky. Daredevil felt like the only one that actually actively wanted to be a hero
Yeah.
show.
But even then, like 2 of those 3 seasons, he's not in his like official suit,
Yeah, but I
right?
love the black suit though. He
Yeah,
got it. And
that's
he's
fair.
looking all Frank Millery, and he's just looking cool. I I might be going to London Comic Con in October,
Yeah.
and I'm planning to go as the Frank Miller Daredevil suit, the black one,
Oh, that's
where
cool.
it's just, and I'm really hoping I
Yeah.
can get that, like figure out how to get some of that stuff, like the
Right.
Muay Thai gloves or whatever, because that'd be really fun to go as. It's also an easy costume.
Right.
But yeah, are you good with Defenders in a B then?
Yep. Totally
Okay.
fine.
All right, on to Punisher. We can rush through some of these next ones because we've been streaming for like an hour and a half. It's been going on. Punisher season 1. First off, before we start talking about it, how much do you know about like the release of the Punisher season 1? Because it was kind of a
Nothing.
big deal. Okay,
Nothing.
so the first little teaser for the Punisher came at the end of the Defenders. In the last episode of Defenders, there was a
Sure.
little teaser of Frank, like in a bit of a costume or whatever, and it just said like the Punisher coming soon or something like that. And we had no idea when it was coming out. We didn't know if it was 2017 or 2018. We didn't know like just what the plan was for it in general. And then around late September, early October, we started to hear rumors it was going to come out in 2017, like that year. But we were already getting into the late months of 2017, so we didn't know when it was going to release, when it was going to show up, or whatever. And then people started spreading the rumor that the Punisher season 1 wasn't going to have a release date, that it was just going to release as like a surprise thing, and that it would just show up and that people would just get to watch it just on Netflix the night it dropped. And New York Comic Con was coming up, and people were speculating that because Punisher had a panel, that they were going to show a trailer for Punisher at it and then just release the Punisher after the panel. And then there was a shooting somewhere, I'm not sure, but the shooting meant that they wanted to distance themselves from it. So the shooting was like the weekend of New York Comic Con somewhere in America. And then the panel happened and the trailer came out. And at the end of the trailer, it was like November 17th, 2017 is when the Punisher season 1's coming out. And then after that trailer came out, they like came out and were like, yeah, we were gonna just release it tonight and just as a surprise for everybody, so that everybody just got to just get a new season of Marvel Netflix out of nowhere, but they couldn't do that. So it came out November 17th, which was the same day as the Deathstroke season 6 episode of Arrow and
I
Justice
think I
League.
remember that. Yeah.
Yeah. because I remember getting up. I took the day off college that morning. I watched the Deathstroke episode of Arrow, the one with the long shot of Manu in the Deathstroke suit going through as Deathstroke the Terminator,
So good.
slaughtering Grant's guys, not Grant, Joe Wilson's guys, and then binging Punisher all day, and then going to see Justice League that night in the cinema. So that was a fun time.
Oh
But
my gosh.
but how do you feel about? It was also the same day Star Wars Battlefront 2 came out, the EA version. I remember that
Jesus.
night. Yeah, it was a big
2017
day.
was a fun year.
It was really funny. It was the week before Crisis on Earth X.
Oh my
Because
god.
I remember my friend came over that night of Justice League, okay, to watch, because we were going to go see Justice League together. So I'd been watching Punisher season 1 all day. He came over and we were sitting in my room. And then on Twitter, it was like leaked Crisis on Earth X teaser, because it like there was like one had just aired on the CW, and it was this like 5-second clip with Oliver in the Nazi costume from part 3 when
Yeah.
he's going into the Quentin's area or whatever. And then it was like the Crisis on Earth X logo underneath it. It was like 5 seconds long, and I was like, I can't wait for next week. But yeah, Punisher season 1. How do you feel about it?
Yeah, no, I mean, so I was saying to you, like, it was taking me a little bit to get into the show.
Sure, yeah.
And I don't know why. Maybe it's just because Frank as a character, Punisher as a character, was always harder for me to get into than others. Like, he's a very different kind of character than we're used to, and it took me a little bit. Like, I love Daredevil in season 2. He was fantastic. Jon Bernthal has slowly been becoming one of my favorite like TV actors, kind of thing. Like, he's fantastic.
He's so good, man. Him in The Walking Dead.
Oh my gosh, no, it was incredible. And I was like, this is when I was very curious stepping into, because obviously, like, he's one of the big players returning. I hadn't seen anything from Punisher. Like, I had seen some of Luke Cage. I had seen some of Jessica Jones. I had even seen one episode of Iron Fist, like, almost 10 years ago at this point. But I had seen nothing. All I knew about Punisher was that fantastic meme with him tied in the chair.
Oh yeah.
Like, no, wait.
Did you not know Micro was the Thing before you watched it?
I did know that too.
Okay.
Yeah, but I knew he was involved. I didn't know, and I knew Claire from the TED show was in it as well. Like, that's all I knew. I really knew nothing. It was a very different show than I was expecting. I think that also took me off.
It's a lot slower than you kind of
and it was like,
knowing the Punisher.
oh yeah, I thought it was going to be more of like him outing, like collecting bounties and doing all these things, and it's a more smaller scale show than I was expecting going into it. And so I think the first 3, I was kind of like, this is okay. Like, I even messaged you being like, I'm not a huge fan of this. I'm not sure if I'm vibing with it. But once, and this goes for a lot of these shows, once I got into these characters, I was really, really into this. I think once you kind of really settle in on what he's going through, he's teaming up with Micro. He's doing, I think what I really like is his connection with Micro and his connection with Micro's family.
Yeah.
And what I really like the narrative of, to begin healing from his own family's trauma. Like, for him to even start healing from the death of his family, he has to fill in for the thought of
he has to repair another family.
Yes.
Fix his own.
That is
in his head.
So good. That is so fun. And to see him slowly soften up over the season. And, he doesn't really care about this family, but he really wants to, right? Like, you can see him slowly being like, kind of forgetting the line of like, wait, this isn't my family. This isn't the people I love. I have to keep this, very professional, but he kind of wants to go there. And that, I think that's the stuff that makes it really, really, really good. I think it's the character stuff in here that works for me. The action stuff,
action is fun,
good,
but it's the character stuff is the real meat.
Yes, like, the action's good, but I'm not a huge, like, just taste-wise, I'm not huge into like shootouts out like as much as I would be like a Daredevil fight scene or something like that. Like, John Wick is great, but I'll never like John Wick more than like an MCU fight or something that's like actual like combat and stuff like that. That's just how I am. But very good, very good. I'm very curious to kind of see because again, I haven't done season 2 yet, and it was like,
Yeah.
where do you take where you left things off in season 2? And him as a character, I think and also where are we at with Born Again? Like, where are we going to
Yeah,
jump
where
off
is
with him?
Frank now that we've like
Yes.
it, you know, it's been so long. Like, did he not get blipped? So he's just been running around going crazy, or did he get blipped and then he came back and that made him crazy? Where he was like a
Mm,
lot of the organizations he took out maybe are back. Maybe they
yeah.
grew while
I hope
while
he's
he was dead.
blipped.
Oh yeah,
I would hope he's blipped.
that
I think
that
I
that
think that
seems
sounds a lot interesting.
it's just things like this really, really, really fascinate me because it's
Hmm.
like look at Frank Castle in Daredevil season 2 and Punisher season 1 and season 2. That is a man who hates being out of control. Who it's a man who just kills anyone he deems bad
Yeah.
and without any second thought about it. But he hates being out of control. What happens when a man like that, who lives in this gritty corner of the MCU,
Yeah.
that is, never once do we hear him mention the Hulk or Captain America or the incident, even. He's
Right.
always like, it feels like he's somebody who's just constantly, almost like a Diggle, where he's like, I don't trust that super powered
Yeah.
bullshit. I can't believe in that sort of stuff. I need to believe in what I know, which is the fact that I have a gun in my hand and I'm going after criminals. And,
Yeah.
if a man like that gets blipped, what the fuck does he think when he comes back and realizes 5
Yeah.
years are gone? Like, how does that mess with his perception of what life is and
They're in a very
what is
different
happening?
world now.
Exactly, exactly. Like, and I'm so hoping that they deal with some of this stuff where it's like they are forced into this more
Hmm.
alien supernatural world because the MCU got more alien and supernatural with Infinity War. And
Yeah.
if the Netflix stuff are a part of that MCU, you have to deal with this sort of stuff. So
This is
I'm
something I've
really
been thinking
excited to see
about a
that.
lot lately, where I
Yeah,
think it's a damn shame. It's such a damn shame that these shows ended right before the blip or right around the
yeah,
blip. Because
yeah,
I think it would have been such a unique experience
yeah,
to keep those shows in 2018 or 2019. Like have these shows, like, at the time they didn't want to connect them. That's okay because they're 5 years in the past. How cool would that have been to see these very ground to earth characters have to deal
yeah,
with half the world being gone? Characters
yeah,
like Daredevil would have been great for that. Punisher would have been great for that. What is left in the world now that half of the, like, politicians and criminals are gone now? What do these characters? Oh, Jessica Jones would have been fascinating
Oh,
because
I would have loved it.
everyone would have been like, "Hey, my husband's gone." It's like, no,
Yeah,
I mean,
he's
yeah, they're gone, but I can't do anything about that. Sorry,
but
like,
that could be even more interesting if it's like somebody lies about being blipped so that they could go and like cheat
oh,
on their spouse or go and live
uh,
a spouse. So Jessica's like, hey, your husband wasn't blipped. He's actually just a
yes,
scumbag cheater.
that'd be so
Like,
cool.
how cool would little storylines like that be or like
Yeah,
episodes like that be? Like, I just yeah, I completely agree. I would have loved to have had these shows exist during all of that, just to see
right.
the amount of things they could come up with. Agent Orange's death has to be the most violent yet satisfying thing I've ever seen. It is very violent. Is it's an insane way to end season 1 of the show. I loved it. Um,
Um, just like really quick, just because I know
yeah,
you have to move on. But imagine Secret Invasion. Like, I
that
know
would have
that
been
show
so good.
sucks, but like imagine Punisher like taking out these people, but like you don't know who is who. Like
Yeah.
these people are
Punisher
actually
kills a guy,
scrolls.
figures out he's a scroll, and he's like, "What the fuck is a scroll?" He's like, he shoots a part of like the dogs of hell, and one of them's a scroll, and he's like, mm. It's like I just want to be the Punisher. I don't want to deal
Yeah.
with this bullshit. It's like get this Marvel hero stuff out of my gritty shooter. Um, no, I mean Punisher season 1. I think the most disappointing thing about it is the fact that it is barely a Punisher show for a lot of it. Like they do take their
Yeah.
time getting to the Punisher elements,
That's my big complaint. Yeah.
and if season 2 was pretty much a full-on Punisher show, I wouldn't have much of a problem with it because it would feel like
Yeah.
season 1 was just setting up for that, and that season 1 was giving you the character stuff so that
Mhm.
season 2 could be the Punisher show.
Yeah,
But
that
season 2 is
presentation
yeah,
needs to fully adapt the Punisher
it
stuff. They
does, it
need to
does, it does.
fully embrace it.
Yeah.
Um,
It needs to, like, take full advantage of the
mhm.
character they're dealing with and what they're
Yeah.
doing. Because unfortunately, I don't think either of the seasons ever did. But just from, like, a season of television standpoint, I mean,
That's great.
I I personally feel like The Punisher season 1 is probably, like, a strong A.
Yep.
That's kind of around where I would put it. Where would you put it?
Yep. exactly same spot. It's
Yeah. Hey.
not
Okay.
Daredevil season 1, Jessica season 1. I think it's like around the same spot as season 2 of Daredevil for me, but I think the
Sure.
peaks of Daredevil way outweigh the
Yeah.
peaks
Yeah.
of Punisher.
Yeah. I would agree with that. I think Punisher has some really strong peaks. The montage in episode 3 when he's in Afghanistan or Kandahar, sorry, and he's going
Yeah.
through like this shooting people while the music's playing and stuff like that is really, really, really strong. I love how all these shows, their first seasons, each one of them had some kind of hallway fight scene. Like I think it's always episode 2 or episode 3. Like Iron Fist had the one where he's fighting the guys with the hatchets in the hallway getting to the elevator. Luke Cage has the one where he's just walking through all the bullets and he picks up the giant door. That's always really fun. And then Punisher has the one in Kandahar where he's just going through this long like path shooting things. But yeah, okay, we can move on to Jessica Jones season 2, and we're kind of reaching the end of the ones that you've seen,
Mhm.
other than Daredevil.
Yeah.
So that means we can kind of like I'll be very quick then on Luke Cage, Iron Fist, Punisher, Jessica Jones season 3 because I won't spoil anything. But Jessica Jones season 2, this was one of the most disappointing seasons of like I remember when it first came out. I was extremely disappointed in it. I felt like it was the worst Marvel Netflix season. But what hit me harder than, say, Iron Fist with this one was because Jessica Jones season 1 is so incredibly strong that you
Yeah.
feel the drop more because season 2 is kind of just fine. And, it's not like Iron Fist. You're watching Iron Fist season 1, you don't have anything to base it off of because it's the first season. But with
Right.
Jessica Jones season 2, you've seen how great the show can be, and now you're seeing that it's not that anymore, at least to
Mhm.
me. How do you feel about it?
So yeah, I mean, I kind of went in with the opposite expectation because I've heard like, the like reputation of Jessica Jones has always been season 1's incredible,
Yeah.
season 2 and 3 not as much.
Yeah.
And like like when you're when you were rewatching it, you didn't have so much good to say. So going into it, I was determined I was going to love this.
You're
I
like, "This is
wanted
gonna be
to
the greatest."
I was like, I must love this show. I want to prove them wrong so bad.
Yeah.
And I think at first I was agreeing with you. I was like, the first like 4 to 5 are really boring. They are
Yeah.
really hard to get
They're
through.
a slog, for sure.
But honestly, I think the more I got into it, I actually do kind of like this season. There's a lot.
Okay.
This is not a perfect season, but there's actually a lot I actually do enjoy, and I think it works better as an ensemble, right? This is a season that kind of feels like it kind of feels a little network TV, doesn't it?
It
Like
does a little bit, yeah. I would agree with
it's
that.
more of an ensemble cast. It's more soap opera.
Yeah.
But where I think it thrives are in its character journeys, right? Where it's
Okay.
season 1, the whole cast was kind of, as they were great, they were fantastic, probably better. They were all there to support Jessica in her journey.
Yeah.
Where this season, every character kind of goes off and does their own thing. And I liked almost every character journey here. I really liked Jessica's arc about how she deals with her anger. Like they really zeroed in on that, especially post Defenders, where
Yeah.
she just lost her friend but she just lost someone due to her not being at her 100%. And I feel like we really zero in on like what makes Jessica Jessica, and how the surrounding things are approaching that. I loved Malcolm this season. Malcolm's the highlight for me.
Yeah, Malcolm's probably my favorite character in the show, honestly. I really
Yeah,
like
like
this character.
yeah, like his just like trying to like rebuild his life and like
Yeah.
rebuild who he is, and just like him realizing like, well, I can't just let people walk on me. Like I
Yeah.
am better than this. Like I deserve better. Trish really pissed me off this season, but I think it makes sense. You know what I
If
mean?
Trish pissed you off this season,
Oh
she's
no.
probably going to
Oh
make you want
no.
to drop the show in season 3. This season 2 is the beginning of when I think a
Uh,
lot of people personally find her character to have declined.
okay. Yeah, I mean, like I do like it though, because I do think it fits within her character. Like her whole thing in season 1 is that she just wants to feel powerful. Like
Yeah.
she wants to feel important. And again, it's great. Like her mother back in her life, and Jessica's trying to push her away again, and all these things, the stuff that happened in our last season. It's like, I just want to feel something. I want to feel powerful. I think our journey through that, while annoying, is a little justified. Like, I think that's really, it's cool to watch. Jerry, I also think is great this season. Like, I like her stuff about, I like, because I was really afraid of what they were doing with her at first, with the whole, like, oh, she's going to get healed and all that stuff.
Yeah.
I really like the arc of, like, that's
got
not
scammed.
always how the world works.
Yeah.
You can't just be healed. You can't just do that. So it's a character that's like, okay, I got to deal with these cards on death. I'm not living forever, but I'm going to be damned sure I make these next several years the best of my goddamn life. And a character that's like giving no shits anymore, I think is so much fun. The mom stuff was kind of hit or miss for me. I don't know. I feel like they maybe could have gone about it in a different way.
Sure.
But I do like how it ends in Jessica having nobody, right? I like that because of her consequences. It didn't end the show being like, oh, it's all good now, let's do this. Like, her mother is dead, Malcolm's left, she's pushed away Trish. She doesn't really, outside of this new neighbor stuff, she doesn't have anybody in her life. And I think that's a very interesting place to put her. It's still one of the weaker ones for me, but I like it more than Iron Fist. I also like it more than Defenders, which is...
Oh, wow. Okay. Jeez. I wasn't expecting that last bombshell there.
Well,
wow.
I think Defenders is more fun. Like, I had more fun with Defenders, but
What's
I think
your problem with
Jessica
Defenders?
Jones...
Do you hate it? Is it? Do you think it's the worst comic book TV of all time?
I think it was. I think as a season, it was stronger than Defenders. Defenders is more fun to watch. Like I would rewatch Defenders.
Like an enjoyment. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Jessica Jones season 2. I mean, on rewatch, I still felt like it was the worst season of the Netflix Marvel stuff to me.
Fair enough.
Like,
I get it.
I don't think it's much worse than Iron Fist, but I think it would probably be, at least for me, around the same level as Iron Fist. I just feel like the drop off from season 1 to season 2 is so incredible that it's like they feel like completely different shows a lot of the time. They feel like the villain being Jessica's mother and stuff like that, essentially, and dealing with that. I didn't enjoy watching it. I liked getting the little bit more digging into Jessica's backstory and exactly, and like going into the person, like who she was, who she is, stuff like that. Like exploring a lot of the stuff from pre-Kilgrave and stuff like that was really good and enjoyable with her boyfriend and all that. I enjoyed all that. Like, the flashback stuff in this season is probably my favorite stuff of the season, and I would put pretty close to season 1 in terms of quality, but it's like there's so few of that like throughout the season. And then it's just a lot of the new characters introduced and a lot of the side storylines I didn't find myself enjoying, like the Trish stuff with the IGH, I don't know, the IGH like drug she's taking along with her new partner. The Simpsons stuff, like super briefly, sorry to say her BRB there. The Simpsons stuff, like showing up like in just in episode 2 pretty much, and then is dead instantly, feels
that was weird.
Super rushed. It's just kind of out of nowhere. I think that's just kind of how I feel about season 2. It feels like a lot of things just happening out of nowhere. A lot of just random occurrences happen where it's like, okay, I guess we're here now. Whereas in season 1, it feels like you're building up constantly. It feels like they're like, okay, this is the next plan for how we take down Kilgrave. The plan inevitably goes to shit, but they bounce back from it, and then they kind of clearly telegraph how the next episode is going to go or whatever. Whereas with Jessica Jones, it's just sort of bang, bang, bang. This is happening. Now this is happening. Here's a sex scene, and now this is happening. And then it's just, I don't know. It feels like a very random season to me.
No, that's completely fair. Like I really enjoy the individual character journeys and where they end up. But a lot of the stuff getting there is a drag. It's hard to watch through. It's very, and again, I also, I think, enjoy like slightly more soapy stuff than you sometimes. Like, I like a lot of the, like, not necessarily coming of age, but a lot of like the more drama stuff. Like, I do like Jessica's new love interest, but man, like the like transition to I am literally going to burn down your life to like fucking
Yeah.
crazy.
It's
And
like,
like
okay, I guess we're having dinner at yours every day now.
it's
But
so crazy. It's
it is, yeah.
so weird. And it's a character that's so specifically designed to be a love interest. It's not like, oh, this is a separate character who
Yeah.
happens to be it's like, no, that's the love
Yeah, it's
interest
like
character.
hot guy who's in shape, just moved in.
Yeah.
Oh, he's gonna hate Jessica for an episode or two, but then they're gonna be fucking because that's just the way this show goes, I
Right.
guess. Like
The Wildcat from Arrow.
it is, yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Which what show did he leave Arrow for? Because wasn't he supposed to be a bigger part of Arrow? Um, but yeah, I mean, it's where would you put it? Because I could tell that I feel a lot less into it than you do.
It's weird because I'd put it above Defenders, but below
Okay.
Luke Cage.
So you're thinking a B.
I'd put it in a B. Yeah.
Okay. I
I'd
will put it
maybe.
in a C, but okay, I'll take B.
Okay. No, that's fair. That's fair.
Because I
Do
think
you
like
like it less than Iron Fist then?
I do.
Okay.
I
Interesting.
think the side characters in Iron Fist, like Ward, Joy, Colleen, Claire,
Mhm.
make Iron Fist more enjoyable to me
I
than
mean,
Jessica Jones does.
you can put it in C if you want because
No,
I
no,
do
no.
think.
It's if you want it, I'm okay putting it in B.
Okay. All right.
It did. So you said you'd put it in front of Luke Cage season 1.
No, I'd put it above Defenders, below Luke Cage. Is what I
Oh,
would
okay,
do.
okay. We can
I think Luke Cage is the best out of out of B right now.
You really hate Defenders, huh? You really said that was the worst thing ever. No,
Nope.
only joking. Okay, so yeah, all right. So will we do Daredevil? Well, no, we'll just keep going to release order, I
Yeah,
guess.
yeah. Just keep going, and
Okay,
I'll meet you there.
okay. So Luke Cage season 2, no spoilers, but I think as a whole, I think it's much more consistent than season 1. I
Sure.
would say the entire season never beats the first half of season
Sure.
1, but the entire season is definitely better than the back half of season 1, if that makes sense. I think the villain is Bushmaster, this guy who leads like a Jamaican crew who's trying to take over certain parts of New York, and then he's moving into Harlem, and then he starts going after Mariah Stokes and all that sort of stuff. And he's somebody who sort of has abilities because he can, I don't know what it is. It's these like herbs or whatever that he turns into some sort of powder that when he inhales it, it gives him sort of like really acrobatic abilities and gives him a bit of super strength and stuff like that. So he's able to fight Luke Cage, which is, it creates some really cool fights because he's kind of jumping around Luke Cage a
That's
lot and
cool.
Luke's trying to hit him. And that's really fun. I think that Bushmaster as a villain is better than Diamondback, but would be worse than Cottonmouth pretty easily. Probably better than Mariah Stokes as well. I'm not a big fan of Mariah Stokes as a character. I never really liked her super much. But the way the season ends is one of the most interesting endings in a comic book show. I really, 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 really like how they end Luke's character, and it would have been super cool to see how it went in a season 3 because it's definitely a cliffhanger style ending, but it means a lot for Luke's character. And even though we didn't get a season 3, I still think it's a fascinating ending for the character. Like
Sure.
it's the sort of thing where if like you're sitting back and you're thinking about it, you're like, wow, that's a kind of a dark ending for Luke's character. It's like that's really how his how Luke Cage ends up in the MCU. Okay. I'm gonna, and just saying that you're probably thinking it's like prison or something like that just because of how season 1 ended. It's not. It's
Sure.
something completely different to that. That if have you been spoiled on the ending for season 2?
No.
Okay. I think you'll be really, really, really surprised where exactly the show stops. And
I think all I know, I think I know Iron Fist is included in here somewhere, and
they
that's kind of
mentioned
it.
they mentioned Danny a lot throughout a
That's
bunch of
cool.
episodes, which is why I think Iron Fist season 2 and Luke Cage season 2 were probably building towards becoming just heroes for hire at
That's
like
cool.
season 4 or something like that, because both shows feel very connected. It feels kind of like Arrow and Flash did in their very early seasons where they were constantly referencing what's happening on the other one. But no, I think the ending for Luke Cage season 2 really, really, really interesting, that it's like not at all how you would expect them to play the whole thing out. But the more you think about it, the more you're like, okay, I kind of can enjoy that, even if it's sort of a dark left turn in a way. So let me know when you watch that. I'd be interested to hear what you think. But in terms of where I'd put it, I don't think it's better than season 1, but I do think it's pretty close. Like I'd put it above Jessica Jones season 2 just because I feel like that, but I can put it I don't think I'd put it above I don't know. Yeah, I'd put it in like a mid B, I think, pretty easily. Just real quick, the Kilgrave hallucination episode was good though. Yeah, in season 2, I did enjoy that. Which just kind of reminded me he was one of the best things about the show.
Yeah, I feel really bad because again, like the cast is really, really good, but David Tennant just has that presence. Like what? It's like the end of the episode where it just ends with him like clapping. It's like oh okay, oh god.
It's like please stop, David. I don't want this anymore. Yeah,
poor Jessica. Agree. No,
no, he's a terrifying character for sure. Iron Fist season 2 is a huge improvement over season 1 easily. It's only 10 episodes, and the episodes are only like 45-ish minutes each, from what I remember. Like it's a really in contrast to Luke Cage season 2, where I felt like every other episode of Luke Cage season 2 was an hour plus. Iron Fist season 2 was pretty easy to get through. Like the episodes sort of flew by. It's a very fast-paced show. It's multiple action scenes an episode, which I think they took the complaints about season 1 not being good on the action front to heart and changed that up for season 2. Ward is so much better this season. Davos is a much bigger part of this season and is really enjoyable. I don't know if I should say there is a character who's in the show for quite a bit, but I'll avoid saying who it is because I don't know if you know. But it's another thing that makes you realize that they were probably building to these shows being something more than they were, because there's so many connecting things, there's so many tie-ins, and it's really enjoyable. The music in Iron Fist season 2 is great. I don't think I would put Iron Fist season 2 above Luke Cage season 1, but I do think it's the best out of any of the seasons that's not A or S, to be honest. So I'd put in like a high B if you're okay with me sandwiching these in there.
By all means.
Okay, Daredevil season 3. And I will just say that Daredevil season 3 is not just my favorite season of these. After rewatching it, I think I would go as far as saying it's my favorite season of television of all time. Wow. I think it's like
really.
I think it's just the greatest thing
above
ever.
Shield season 4.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Above Shield season 4, above Arrow season 5, above Arrow season 2, above Band of Brothers, above Black Sails, above. I was watching it and I was just like, this is the greatest thing I've ever seen. It's perfect. Yeah. How do you feel about it?
I mean, again, I haven't rewatched it. I watched it back in 2022, so my memory isn't like amazing. But I do remember it just being like one of those seasons where it's like everybody says this is amazing, and like I remember going into it like I had seen the Kingpin Matt fight where he's just on the floor in the white.
Said he rejected you. You will go back to prison.
Yeah, I mean, I remember it just being like fantastic, ahead of its time. Yeah. I remember saying it was my favorite season of Daredevil, and I'm excited to see if that stays true because I loved season 1 a lot. I'm excited to see exactly how we kind of get there in the story. I remember it ending in a super great way where it's like, if this is the ending, it's a pretty damn good ending.
It feels like they wrapped things up.
It's fantastic where yes, absolutely. And I think it's kind of funny that the current show is called Born Again, which is good. It's called that, but it's also season 3 could also be called Born Again.
Yeah, season 3 was Born Again. Like that's the story they adapted. Like they even do the comic cover in episode 10 of Born Again where Karen is holding Matt's body. Like that's what this season was. And I get it, from an out of universe perspective, the character has been born again. But I mean, it's just season 3 of Daredevil is just a masterclass in dialogue. I posted that scene on Twitter of like Matt sitting there in Fogwell's gym right after noticing that Ray Nadeem is not on his side anymore. That Ray Nadeem has been turned. He could tell on the phone that Ray wasn't talking, as if somebody who was on his side. So Matt's sitting there, and then Jack Murdock on one shoulder starts talking to him and is like, Matty, we've got the devil inside us. That's why our mother left. That's why this is going this way. And then the camera zooms into Matt, and the voice slowly transitions to Fisk's voice, and the camera comes out, and Fisk's standing behind him now. And it's just, it's, it's, I don't know what to say. It's genuinely, it's the kind of thing that I could
Great.
just watch all day, every day for the rest of my life and be satisfied.
Yeah.
Like, it's that good. And it's, people say that Born Again is going to be better than the original show. And I'm like, when Daredevil season 3 is the best TV I've seen in my life, I don't see how there's any way Born Again can be better than that. This is just insanely high bar.
You're gonna have to perform a miracle. You're going to have to do some insane work to even come close to even like it.
But I mean, even with that, I don't think season 4 of the original show would have been anywhere close to season 3 either. I honestly think that season 4 of the original show probably would have been the worst season of the show. Not because it's like, you know,
That's
bad or anything like that,
Yeah.
but that's what happens. Shows get worse
Yeah.
over time. And also, season 3 was their magnum opus. I don't think you can beat perfection. I don't think you can match perfection. I think they gave
It felt like
everything
an ending.
they did. They gave everything they had to season 3. I don't think the original season 4 would have been able to match that. I think I still would have enjoyed it, but I don't know if it would have matched. The prison one shot is the best one take I've seen. Yeah, it's unbelievable. The fact that that's the one hallway scene or the one take scene in the show that actually doesn't have any cuts, because season 1 and season 2 had cuts in them. They just hid them very well. Season 3 has no cuts. They hid areas to make cuts, but they didn't even have to use them because they did it so well. It's so good.
Yeah, I again, like, to kind of just go off on that, like, part of me does kind of feel like maybe all of this was for a reason. Like, maybe it was for the best that they kind of paused, stepped away. We've had all these years without it, which is going to make us have such a gratitude for when it comes back. And hopefully just story opportunities. A giant time jump is probably what season 4 would have had to do anyway, right? Just story-wise.
It would have had to, yeah.
So I think we're going into this with such a gratitude. Now, some of the other shows probably should have got more seasons, right?
Yeah. I think so as well. I think Luke Cage and Iron Fist could have joined together. I think Punisher should have went on. I think Jessica Jones with season 3 was reaching its finality though as well.
Sure.
Would you be okay putting Daredevil
Go ahead.
in S?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
I just think, I mean, it's like the marketing for season 3 was so fantastic as well. It was just like there was the main trailer for sure, but there was a lot of like these little teasers that were edited to like just mess with your head a little bit, where it'd be really wacky editing. The music would be really weird. It'd be constant like fire burning and stuff like that. There was this trailer for Dex Bullseye, where it's like in the episode of Dex's flashbacks, there's a scene where he's about to kill himself, and you hear the voice of the woman he's been stalking, Julie, just saying in his head over and over, do it, Dex, because he's going to kill himself. And there's a teaser for him, for that character, that was like the introduction to his character from Netflix, where it's just over the whole trailer, it's just that constant repeating line of do it, Dex, do it, Dex, do it, Dex, as it's just cutting between his scenes. And it's so twisted with the context of what it is in the show, and it's so it's just, it gets what the characters are. The marketing understands what the show was, and it's just some of the greatest marketing of all time. Like, the marketing is the best I've ever seen. This season is the best I've ever seen. So yeah, it's an S for me. Punisher season 2. I'm currently rewatching that. You got any thoughts on Punisher season 2, or like what do you know about it?
I know only, I mean, I've seen clips on TikTok. I've seen there's a scene where he like blows up like a pedophile's house or something.
Yeah, that was the episode I watched earlier on.
With Claire from Ted, which I'm excited for because I like her as an actress. But
yeah, she's true in the whole season.
I'm excited for that.
Yeah, Punisher season 2, a lot slower than season 1. It feels like the show sort of reset itself at the start of this one. Like, I mean, the season feels kind of like a side quest. The first episode is Frank with a different name, with a van, with some cash on him, ending up in this pub in the middle of nowhere. And then this girl, Claire from Ted, is running away from these people who are chasing her. Frank gets involved and stops them, turns out that the girl has like a secret shady past, and that there's like a lot of people chasing her from other places, and that he's got to like now protect her for the rest of the season. It's very side questy. Then you throw in some of the stuff with Russo from the end of season 1, which feels kind of goofy in this season, and Frank doesn't actually put on the Punisher costume at all until like the last 4-ish episodes. Then he barely wears it until the last episode. It feels like Punisher season 1 and 2 are almost prequels to the main show, and that season 3 would have been the main show, but we're never going to know that. I don't know. I think Punisher season 2 is like a mid to low B. I think it's a fairly sizable drop off from the main show, but it's not like bad. It's just pretty whatever.
It kind of sounds a little like just like the way you're talking about, a little Reacher-ish, where each season is kind of its own thing. I did want to ask, because and you can like slightly spoil here. I'm probably not getting to Punisher before Born Again.
Okay.
And you don't have to go full in, but like, where do we leave Frank as a character? Like, does it feel like he's kind of, is he on his own still? Does it kind of feel like a wrap up at all, or no?
It feels like a Stargirl-esque ending where it's very much the adventure continues. But it's different in the way season 1 ends. Season 1 ends with him sort of retiring again and out of the game. Season 2 is the first time a season of Marvel Netflix ends with Frank fully still as the Punisher.
So last time we've seen him, he's out there, he's still the Punisher, just doing his own thing. Okay.
Yeah. The last time we've seen him in the MCU, it's him just full on in Punisher mode. More so than he is even in Daredevil or season 1 of his own show. So it's a lot. Punisher season 2 was really underrated. You can't have just pure Punisher, so I like the father-daughter storyline. Pilgrim is really good. Jigsaw could have been better, but it's a good, decent story. My problem with Jigsaw was that, the guy who's playing Billy Russo is like, he's an attractive man. And the whole point of Jigsaw in season 2 is that his face is all scarred up and he hates himself because his face is scarred up. And he's such a vain person that now he's freaking out because his face is the way it is. And he's wearing this mask for the first few episodes of season 2, and he takes it off and he's got like a little scar here, a little scar here. That's it. He still looks like one of the most attractive men you've ever seen in your life. Like it's not like it's a huge difference. I don't think you're alone in thinking it's underrated though. I've seen a lot of people who I've talked to over the years who've been into it. And I think John Bernthal's really good. It's fun to watch. And it's true, pure Punisher for 13 episodes would have been too much. You probably don't need to watch Punisher, honestly. Yeah, I would have a hard time seeing references to season 2 in Daredevil Born Again. I think as long as you know he is Punisher at the moment, or at least was the last time we saw him, you're probably fine. I don't think we're gonna get references to like the girl character or John Pilgrim or anything like that. Even like Madani or Micro, I think, or Russo even. I don't think there's references to that. I think, as long as you know that the connection between Karen and Frank, you're probably pretty good. Netflix definitely made Frank more human, which I love. Butcher's more brutal and Michael Myers-ish. Yeah, I think, in the comics, I've not read a super amount of Punisher comics, but the ones I've read, he's definitely a very like, not a lot to him character where he's very much just a killer, and the show for sure expands on that. Very last was a bit with Frank and Amy, which enjoyable. Yeah, no, I completely agree with that. If you like Joel and Ellie, you probably actually will like Punisher season 2 then. It's got that sort of vibe to it.
That's cool.
Jessica Jones season 3, I'll be honest, I don't feel like I'm super qualified to place it anywhere because I haven't seen it since it came out in June of 2019. I just remember liking it more than season 2.
Oh wow.
I remember liking elements to it quite a lot. But I can't remember. I remember exactly how it ended, and it felt like an ending because the Punisher season 2 was cancelled before, or Punisher season 2 was filmed before they knew they were getting cancelled. Jessica Jones season 3 was still filming while the Daredevil cancellations were coming in, so they sort of saw the writing on the wall and wrote an ending to counter that. But Punisher season 2 didn't get that option. Plus, I think that's another reason why Punisher season 2 didn't hit for me at the time, is that we knew it hadn't been officially cancelled yet, but Daredevil, Iron Fist, and Luke Cage were cancelled, so we sort of knew it was going to be. But Jessica Jones season 3, I'll put it in a B just because I don't feel like
Yeah.
I don't think it's a C level if Jessica Jones season 2 is a B level, but I don't think it's an A level either.
Yeah.
All right,
Is there
so
anything in B we want to move to A? Because that B category is very
I would
large.
move Luke Cage season 1 to A then
Go
if we're
ahead.
keeping the other
Yeah,
stuff in.
go ahead.
I don't think Iron Fist season 2 goes to A.
Okay.
I mean, I really liked it though. I could put it in an A. I could put if you'd be okay with it, I'd put it in.
I haven't seen it, so I have no stake in the game. Go ahead.
All right, I'll put Iron Fist season 2.
Balances it out a little bit. Yeah.
Okay. All right, that's a good shout because if this all stuff is B, I think Luke Cage season 1 definitely beats all of it out, and I just enjoy Iron Fist season 2 a lot.
Yeah, I remember when season 3 came out. Like, I remember I hadn't watched it obviously, but I remember a lot of my friends who watched it and stuff, or people I watched who were watching it, were very disappointed when that season came out. And
Of Jessica Jones.
Yeah, season 3 of like the last of these shows, and like it was a big deal because like this is the final Netflix Marvel show, and it kind of I remember people saying it went out in like a whimper. Which,
yeah, it absolutely did. It felt like they couldn't do a whole lot. They didn't have the time to change a whole lot of stuff. But I do remember the final episode of Jessica Jones season 3 feeling like an ending, but that the season as a whole, it doesn't feel like a final season.
Gotcha.
How
do you think that kind of? I mean, where do you think that puts her as a character for like coming back? Like, do you think there's room for like a season 4 or like a continuation or something, or do you think it's more of like a presentation kind of thing?
Didn't anybody feel like Jessica Jones season 3 villain was trying to be a Kilgrave ripoff? He didn't work, and the show had a mutant, but never really going. Yeah, I do remember thinking that at the time, being like, this is their way of trying to recapture season 1, knowing that season 2 wasn't received super well. In terms of where Jessica Jones, like where we're seeing her come back, I might be way off on this, but I thought I remembered season 3 ending with her going off on her own, like leaving sort of New York, leaving Alias, and like heading off in her own direction and putting everything here in the past from her, which plays into why a lot of people didn't like the Trish storyline, plays into some of Malcolm's storylines and stuff like that. But it feels like the 3 characters end up going in 3 very separate, different directions. And I mean, I'll just say with how, not like the character dies or anything, but how they deal with Trish in season 3, I would be baffled if we see her in the MCU again.
Yeah.
Like, she doesn't die, but with how they deal with the character and what they do with her, I would be shocked if we saw her again. I think we could see Malcolm again, but Jessica seems in a very strange place. She'd have to come back to New York.
Maybe a new cast, like it's
new cast,
her and a new
give her a new
cast
supporting cast.
Could be cool.
I could see. I mean, in the comics, it's not Trish Walker; it's Carol Danvers, who's a part of Jessica's life. Wow. You could for sure incorporate any other, character you wanted and just play it off like that,
right?
Which would be really cool. There's other no, maybe it's not Carol Danvers. Who is it that I'm thinking of? Let me just double check. I don't want to be way off on that. But in the original Alias comics, it's somebody else who's like Jessica's super close friend. I don't think it actually is Carol. I think I'm way off on that.
I mean, like I've pitched the idea of like, I know where I'm at. They didn't lean that direction. Yeah.
Oh, it is.
If you wanted to reboot, you could be like a Luke and Jessica Jones movie or something.
Yeah, I would. Yeah, if you wanted to bring Jessica and Luke back together and have them be their own thing, I would be really into that. I would love that. Okay, it is Carol Danvers. I just wanted to double check. I don't be super wrong with that.
Captain Marvel 3, everybody.
Oh, maybe.
That would be kind of cool.
I mean, Jessica technically in the comics went to the same high school Peter Parker did. You could for sure do some stuff.
Spider-Man 4.
Yeah. I mean, wasn't Nico's character in Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man originally Jessica
Jones?
But
there's an age difference in the MCU.
There is a huge age difference, yeah. I don't know how you can bring Jessica Jones back because season 3 did kind of that's how I remembered season 3 ending, was like it sort of felt like she was going off into the sunset sort of thing. But I think that is because the show wanted an ending. They didn't want to get canceled. They didn't want to just forget about everything and just because they assumed they weren't getting brought into the MCU. So they wanted to give their character an ending, and that's why they did it. I think you could undo that pretty easily. Okay. We're not going to discuss these, but if you just want to give where you think these shows would go on an S to D scale. So Daredevil.
I mean, it's tough because previously I had it on my A tier.
Oh, your A tier, okay.
I think posts rewatching it, I could give it an S. I'd be okay giving
Okay.
it an S.
I mean, I feel like if we've got all of its seasons in S, kind of gotta put it in S, right?
Yeah, like I think they would it was always that second season that kind of filtered it for me.
Yeah.
But like I enjoyed season 2 really just as much as 1 and 3. So
yeah, okay.
I see no reason not to.
Okay. Jessica Jones from the 2 seasons you've seen?
Probably like right now, probably an A, right?
Okay.
Like
Yeah,
if
like
I
to
have
balance it out.
one, yeah, like if I have one season that's S, one is probably like a B.
Yeah, it
Now once
evens
I
out
see
as an A.
season 3, that might lower it to like
Yeah.
a
Maybe you'll
B.
love season 3.
Maybe I will. Hopefully I will.
I guess Luke Cage because you've seen the 1 season and Iron Fist. Okay, so I guess these 3 for you would probably then be like A, B, and C.
Yeah.
For me, I would think Luke Cage. See, it's hard if we've got 1 in A and 1 in B, but I think Luke Cage season 2 is a high B, whereas I think I could put Luke Cage as a show in like a low A, if that works for you.
Mhm.
Iron Fist, yeah, I mean B. If we've got 2 in A and 1 in C, then it's got to be B, right? Punisher, then. See, Punisher is difficult because I feel like season 2 is a mid B. And all right, you know what? This is a dumb as hell thing that there's probably like no one in chat paying attention right now. But if people in chat want to be the decider on that, how many people are watching right now? 3, 4. Okay.
Vote, everybody, vote.
If anybody's actually like awake and paying attention right now, and they want to be like, tell me where Punisher as a show should go from it, we'll give it like a 2-minute countdown. So you've got till 25 past to put your votes in, or I decide, and I'm putting it in D. See where it is now? That's where it's staying unless chat decides. No, but I like. Yeah, I think I enjoyed doing this. I think it was really fun to revisit these shows. F, we got no F. We're gonna have to create a whole new letter.
A whole new template.
I'm not mad, but season 2 should be C at least.
Okay.
Jesus, C. Okay. I mean, you want the show in C? Because I'll put it in C if you decide on C. I'll put it in B now unless anybody's got any problems in it. I'm not mad, but season 2 should be a C at least. You hated season 2? Wow. That's crazy. Yeah, no, I enjoyed this. So we've been talking about doing something like this for a while. Like I think back when the first sort of set picture started coming out for Born Again of the new version of the show, we were talking about rewatching the shows together. Yeah. And like not even necessarily doing a YouTube thing, just like rewatching them in the same week or something like that. But I'm glad we finally did this.
It's been fun.
I'll leave. So that's. Do you have anything there that you think would need to change?
No, I mean I think everything is kind of where I would genuinely put it. I mean, again, like I think you would have put Jessica season 2 a little lower. That's fine.
I wouldn't have it on the list. I don't think it deserves to be.
But like, I'm really glad I did kind of slightly disagree because I feel like this is the only one we did disagree on.
Sure, it makes for a good discussion.
Yeah, like we were in the exact same spot for all the other shows. So, I mean, like, how are you? Not to take over your hosting thing, but like how are you feeling right now? In preparation for Born Again, like, are you?
I'm excited. I think that especially the rewatch of season 3 has gotten me like super pumped to see like Bullseye back, or to see how they're dealing with it. Because I want to know how they're going to make it make sense realistically why Matt and Fisk are on okay terms in those scenes we've seen, considering how Fisk was left in season 3 and in terms of his stuff with Matt. Like, Fisk was a force in season in season 3. Like he'd infected the whole FBI. He'd killed so many people. Raina Dean killed. He went after Karen. He killed Bullseye killed Father Lantham. He caused so much chaos and bullshit in Matt's life. Like, Matt was ready and willing to break his no-kill rule to kill Kingpin. And I feel like we're maybe looking at Matt finally breaks his no-kill rule in Born Again, and that's the line that was crossed. But I don't know. I'm excited to see how they make it make sense why
Hmm.
Matt is okay not killing Fisk now that he's out again.
Yeah.
You know? How do you feel going into it?
No, I'm again, like I think once those reviews dropped, I was like, I can kind of breathe a little bit because I was so scared.
Yeah,
Especially like again, this journey's been long. It's been like a 4-year journey of like it being
waiting.
announced, them filming it, them having to redo it, that trailer.
Yeah,
And what I think really sealed the deal this week was that we found out season 2 is coming out next year,
yeah. Doing
right?
yearly releases again, baby.
We genuinely like this seems like a yearly show. Invincible is gonna be a yearly show. Spider-Man's gonna be a yearly show. That's a good way to get me excited for a show again.
Yeah,
Is like, it feels like now that the strikes are kind of over, we're catching up again. It
yeah.
feels like we're getting back to yearly TV,
It
which
does. I'm excited to
brings me
see
so
that
much joy. Yeah.
for sure. One last comment. I'd say B. I really like the show, but it does have some really unignorable flaws. I completely agree. I think just the fact that the show barely was Punisher for its whole 2 seasons makes it, feel a little bit disappointing. Maybe if the show had a season 3 that was full on Punisher, I could forgive a lot of its stuff, but I guess
Hmm.
not. Anyway, this is a long stream, almost 2.5 hours. Sorry, I said we'd be done in like an hour and a half to 2 hours.
That's okay. I had a blast.
No, this is really fun. Do you want to plug anything?
I mean, yeah. I mean, in terms of me and Connor talking, me and Connor have talked a lot on my channel. I recently made a playlist. We've done 26 episodes of The
Wow,
Pipeline.
26. That's crazy.
So if you want to see us gabbing over the course of like a 2-year
Oh, yeah.
span, like over that, I am doing The Pipeline in about 30 minutes. So if you want to,
Whoa, damn. If you're on this, if you're watching right now, make sure to just go straight over to Darren's after this.
yep, 30 minutes from now, I'll be talking about the final season of Cobra Kai. The
Peak.
super
Absolute
sad.
peak.
The last time I can ever talk about Cobra Kai. That's kind of sad.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you don't mind my crispy voice, catch me over there.
Your voice is not crispy. It sounds great, man. No, make sure to check out Darren's stuff. Make sure to check out the Pipeline, his channel. He's always making great stuff. He does so many streams every week. He's like, you can find him everywhere in the corners of Nerdum YouTube.
Yeah,
It's so
like
cool.
too much.
No, it's so cool. I wish I had that energy, like so much so. Jonathan said he's gonna see you there.
See you there, Jonathan.
Already got one viewer. Let's go. I'll also be tuning in to say what up in the chat. But yeah, thanks so much for joining us, Darren. And thank you so much, everybody who watched. There was a lot of comments. I really, really like talking with you guys. We had a lot of people in and out of the course of the thing. That was really fun.
First half where it's just like
it was just comment
after
comment. Yeah, I've never done a stream like that before. That was really fun.
Cool.
But yeah, like I would love to do this more often. Yeah, then maybe we could do something. Maybe when Daredevil ends, we can talk about it and see how it compares to the Netflix shows. Like we could even bring up this list again and be like, where would Born Again go on this list in comparison to the rest? That'll be really fun. But thank you so much, everybody who watched this and tuned in. And hope you guys all have a great night. Make sure to watch Darren's stream. And yeah, bye.
Bye.
Oh, yeah, the stream. Oh, there I can end the stream. Bye.